you say your name. Okay, looks like we got the YouTube going. It might be a nice day where you're at. I don't know that I would call it a nice day here. It's gross out here. Um, but yeah, just getting started here. Hopefully we can have some solid conversations this evening. Um, how many are in a gross? Fuck. 98 degrees. Um, hmm. Hmm. But yeah, what are we doing here? I am just looking to talk with adults. Hey, McCaden Bryant. Oh, hey, thanks, all religious rejects. Wait, is that just Lobes? Oh, of course, sober, of course. So, actually, well, why did I think that that was Lobes? I must be thinking of something else entirely. I thought Lobes was involved with something that was called something like that, or maybe I'm just like making shit up in my head because that's a real possibility. Um, so both sides. I am familiar with a gross being 144 from uh fucking playing cards, but I didn't know that it was like the same in other stuff. Cause like a brick of playing cards is um 12 decks, and then a gross is going to be 12 bricks. We'll pop that up there for now. But yeah, so I'm just looking to talk with folks who are 18 plus, believe in a God, and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification for believing in God. Okay. Boom. Look at that. Yeah, what kind of gross are you talking about both sides? Is that just like a generic thing of how gross is always used? Because I don't know. The only time that I've ever been familiar with that is just buying decks of cards in bulk. Hey, Broken Tree Branch, thanks for the support. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Um, but yeah, just looking to speak with folks who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence for God. If that sounds like you, feel free to request, and I'd be happy to have the conversation, have a debate. Thanks, Alan. You fucking rock. Well, I mean, if you think it's foolish to not believe in a God, feel free to come up and explain it to me. Hey, hey, happy Wednesday indeed. I got my garbage out to the curb. Oh, Natanic, I love you too. Hey, if you guys are in the chat and you like supporting music and helping, like kids with music education and access to musical equipment, find that comment from Natanic666, go to his profile, follow him and support him. This is a guy who's out there putting his own time, money and energy into finding ways to get guitars into the hands of kids who don't have other ways to access them. He's helping out kids who want to learn how to play music and don't have the support from their family or their community. And like, he's literally helping kids all over the country. Um, and I mean, it's such a selfless to act, and I don't know. I'm nowhere near as cool a person as that motherfucker. Okay, but yeah. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God.
Yo, 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 what's up, my man?
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Jafar. What's yours, brother?
Ogar.
Ogar. That's a cool name. Like Norwegian or something?
Well, I have German heritage.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm 18.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I believe in, I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Fair
Allah. I'm
enough.
Muslim.
Yeah, sounds good to me. And then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
I mean, to me, it was just something that I heard. Can I like say it to you? And then it's not really like it's more of an argument.
Yeah, that's what I want, yeah.
Okay, okay. Uh, Something I heard that makes a lot of sense to me is can we both agree that everything needs a creator? Nothing can come out of nothing, or something cannot come out of nothing.
No,
Correct?
neither of us believes that everything needs a creator.
What do you mean?
Well, you certainly don't believe that because you don't think Allah needs a creator, and I don't think that the universe needs a creator, so we both think that things exist that don't need
Hold on.
creators.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there without bringing in my religion to it because it's gonna twist a little bit. What do you mean? Ugh. You're telling
You
me
asked me
atheism?
you asked me a question and I gave you a genuine answer.
Right, wait, but you're making a positive claim. You're saying God is not real, right? That's what you're saying. That's a positive claim,
You
right?
asked
Which
me a
means
question and I gave you a direct answer that answered your
okay,
question.
okay, calm down there.
I don't know what the issue is.
Okay, perfect. Let me just continue. Okay, if see that microphone you're talking to right there. Are you
I'm,
okay? Are you
I'm
frozen?
waiting for the argument, my guy.
I am. I just need you to like go along with me. I can't just,
No, we're not doing 20 questions. You're giving an
it's not
argument.
20.
I
It's not
tried
20 questions.
I tried answering a question and then you got mad at me because you didn't like the answer.
Okay, I didn't get mad at you. Sure, sure. I'll just make my argument then. Okay. But I mean, that's the thing, though. You don't want to walk with me here, so I'm just gonna answer for you. Okay. That microphone, we can both agree that it has a purpose, right? We can both agree that it has a creator, because otherwise it wouldn't be in front of you. We believe there's a designer. How do we know there's a designer? Have we met the designer? No. Have we talked to the designer? Probably not. I don't know who you've been. I've never met the designer. If I have a pair of shoes, I know somebody designed it. I just don't know who it is. I've never seen them. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're from. I just know that they exist. Right? Nothing can exist out of something unless it's an all-powerful being that's all-knowing and can contradict the logic that humans have. You understand?
Okay, so you actually don't you think that God is outside of logic, like logic doesn't apply to God?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't apply
Does
human
logic apply
logic.
to God?
No, I'm speaking. You can't use human
Does
logic.
this is a yes or no question, Jafar?
I'm,
Does logic apply to God?
you can't trap me into a yes or no
So
question
this is a
because
yes or no question. Does logic apply to
I'm
God?
not going to answer you because you're very clearly trying
Okay.
to trick
Well,
me.
hey, I'll give you 3 chances. If you're not able to engage, then I'm just going to move on to find somebody who can. Does the logic apply to God?
You can apply logic to God, but you
So I
can't
need a yes
expect.
or no answer. Does logic apply to God?
How about you're a bald fuck? How about that?
Does logic apply to God?
Like I said for the 100th time.
Okay, fair enough.
Dude, what?
I don't know what the Joker laugh is doing for you. Hey, thanks, Casey. Also, thanks for the Dragon Crown. I fucking love those. Those are so fucking cool. Well, Catholic Thinker, you missed someone stepping on a rake and then doing a Joker laugh to get out of it. That was what you missed. Oh yeah, I've got the Jason Voorhees fake band shirt thing on today. I don't remember what like band logo this is ripping off. Something I don't listen to, but oh, that's right. Monkey Boy's live right now. Well, I definitely wouldn't blame anybody who's watching Monkey Boy right now. That's for sure. Um, but damn, thanks everybody for the support. You guys fucking rule. Thank you to Broken Tree Branch, DS, KC, Slice, Drew Fats. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next person. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in a God. Hi, Rhonda. How old are you?
My name's Dennis.
Oh, it says Maris Den Rhonda, so I just went with the only one that I knew what it was.
The reason I'm calling you, guy, because you
How
seem
old are
like
you?
a real nice guy. I'm 69 years old. I don't look it though.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. I got stem cell shot.
I didn't
Pretty
hear.
cool.
You got what?
Stem cells.
Oh.
Shots.
Oh, okay.
Injections.
And which God do you believe in?
Perfect. There's only it's a one creator, but no, let me just talk to you about
so
me
which
and
version
my
of
life.
God do you believe in?
Well, let me explain. Let me just talk. And
Yeah, I
you
just
don't
am
step
asking
over
you
me.
a question. If you can't give me a direct answer, I'm just going to move
I
on. So
believe
I'll
in
ask
the
one more
creator.
time. What God do you believe in?
Wait, you're trying to cut me out because I'm trying
Right,
to tell you
enough.
I believe.
So if you can't just answer the question, I'm moving on. I seem quiet. Are you sure? Like, I don't know. Everything looks okay volume-wise on my side. I mean, I guess I could try to turn it up, but I'm worried it'll start peaking. I don't know if I'm like quiet on just on YouTube or I don't know. Extremely quiet. Why am I quiet? What are you talking about? Sounds perfect. Okay, so it sounds good on TikTok, and it looks based on what OBS is telling me, it looks like it's pumping good volume to YouTube. So I genuinely I don't know what's going on over there, Bames. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what I could like. I'm fucking cranked over here. Okay, but hopefully it's not too bad. We'll move on to the next person. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. We must have bots again or something because 100,000 likes is fucking insane. Yeah, I told you that I was going to cut you off, Dennis, if you didn't answer my question, and then you didn't answer my question. So I told you what was going to happen. Depending on your choice, you made the choice, and the consequences that I warned you about happened. I don't know why you're surprised. I think it's bots, McAden. There's no way that it's real. It's got to be bots. Okay, we'll bring up the next person. Hi, Eros. How old are you? Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. We don't. Okay. I'm not going to do cameras. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Which God do you believe in?
Nah, I believe in Jesus.
Fantastic. Thanks for just answering. What would you say is the... Can you do anything about the echo? It's not super bad, but it's kind of annoying. I don't know if you have headphones or anything.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try my best.
No problem. Like I said, it's not horrible. It's just whatever. Anyway, what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us reason to believe in God?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, number one, from a just basic point of view, I think going back to the creator thing, I think it requires more faith to be an atheist than to believe there's not a creator.
Okay. I don't really care what requires more faith. I'm not going to believe anything on faith. So what would be the reason to believe in God?
Right. So I just gave, I mean, I gave you 1 point.
But you didn't give me a reason, though. You didn't give me a reason. You just made a claim without supporting it. And I don't agree with the claim. And even if the claim was true, it would not be persuasive in any possible way to any reasonable person. So it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. We can move on to hopefully something of substance.
And then other than that, in everything that I've seen, I believe like Jesus historically, and then Jesus like even throughout everything that we have just claims to be God, proves to be God.
So let's imagine that Jesus really existed and he claimed to be God. Why would that give me a reason to believe in God?
Yeah. I would go solely based off the historical evidence and...
No, I just granted it. Let's say that he really lived and he really did claim to be God. Why would that give me a reason to believe in God?
Why would that give you a reason?
Yeah.
Oh. I think solely based off of his claims that he made.
Well, so you know that a lot of other people made claims to be God and you don't believe they're God, do you?
Like, I understand. I'm going to finish.
Right, so David Koresh, or the Branch Davidians, claimed to be the second coming of Jesus. Does that mean that he was Jesus and he was God because he was a real person and he claimed to be? So David Koresh actually was God?
No, I'm not claiming that.
Okay, so what you're so
Can I
then what you're
finish my point?
so then what you're saying is just because
I don't
someone
want to be
exists
rude
and
or.
claims to be God, that doesn't mean that they actually are God, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I understand.
fantastic. So this whole thing about
Mhm.
Jesus is irrelevant. What would be a reason to be God, to believe in God?
It's not irrelevant. Jesus
Well, you
is
just
God
agreed
because
that
he.
the reason you brought up Jesus was because he existed and he claimed to be God, and then we both
Mhm.
agreed that that doesn't give anyone a reason. Just that being true about someone doesn't give
Right.
anyone a reason to believe that they actually are God. So obviously, this
Mhm.
Jesus stuff that you're talking about is irrelevant. We both just agreed
Mhm.
that it has nothing to do with the conversation. So what would be
Yeah.
a reason to believe in God?
I know he's not letting me finish. Okay. So the whole reason that Jesus is God, unlike anybody else who claims to be God, is he proved it. He literally just proved it.
How did
Through
he
his
prove it?
resurrection. Uh-huh. I'll tell you. Through his resurrection that
How
happened
did you prove that he
historically.
resurrected?
He went up, died on the cross,
No,
rose
how
on
do
the
you
third day.
demonstrate that he actually resurrected, not just that there's a story about it?
Hmm. Well, you can say it's a story, but
Mm-hmm.
it's historical evidence as well.
Yeah,
That
where's the
500.
historical evidence of the resurrection?
Hmm. So, in everything that we have, upon 500 people saw him after he resurrected,
Oh, cool. What are
after
their
he died.
names? I'll write down their
Do I?
names.
Uh-huh. I mean, in that time, they didn't go out. I
What are
mean,
what
they
are the
probably
names
did.
of the 500 people, and how do you know that they really saw the resurrection?
Mhm. Well, there's historical documents that
Yeah,
just
so
say
what are the
500 people
names of
saw
the
him.
500 people, and how do you know they actually
Why
saw
do
the
you need?
resurrection?
Hold on. Why do you need 500 names in order for it to be true?
Because obviously you wouldn't make a claim like there were 500 witnesses without actually having evidence of 500 witnesses, and the only evidence that could ever be convincing of such a claim is if you had eyewitness testimony from each of the 500 witnesses. So giving you the
Right.
benefit of the doubt that you're not just saying really stupid shit right now, you must actually have eyewitness testimony from all 500 of those witnesses. So it would be trivially easy for you to just tell me what their names are and where I can read their eyewitness testimonies.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. Because I could tell you that, in fact, the true creator of the universe is actually Eunice, the universe farting unicorn, and she revealed herself to millions of people on top of a mountain one time.
Mm.
So that must mean that because your God only revealed his supernatural act to 500 people, but mine revealed her supernatural act to millions of people, that means that I actually have better evidence for my God, right?
Right.
Oh, cool. So you don't believe in Jesus anymore and you believe in Eunice now?
No, I do.
Oh,
And
weird. So hold on. So let me get this straight. What you're saying then is just claiming that a bunch of people saw something doesn't actually give evidence that that happened?
that's not what I'm saying. And
Oh,
you're skipping
okay.
the
So
point.
fantastic. So if we claim that a bunch of people saw something, that is
Mm.
evidence that the thing really happened. Your claim is only about 500 people. My claim is about millions of people. So that must mean that I have just like several orders of magnitude better evidence than you, right?
No.
What's the difference?
So, again, I don't know how you normally do this with like people in your chat room, but you're being rude. The
I
way
don't
that
give a
you
fuck what you think, and I don't give a fuck what the people in the chat think. All I really care about is what's true. If you want to talk about something other than what's true, then you can go cry somewhere else. So the argument that you're giving is what I'm addressing. If you want to address the chat, then get the fuck out of here and you can talk in the chat.
Sure, I'm gonna address it to you right now. So I'm just saying one of the names was Paul.
Oh,
From-
Paul was
from
an
Mark.
eyewitness to the resurrection?
I mean, he went out and he.
Paul
got
was
the
an
500
eyewitness to the resurrection?
Resurrection was clean.
So you got to check it out on ChatGPT quick, and ChatGPT will let you know that Paul was not an eyewitness to the resurrection and never claimed to be. In fact, Paul claimed to have never met Jesus other than in a vision when he bumped his head after falling off a horse. Paul was not an eyewitness to the resurrection. In fact, Paul is the one who's credited with the claim of 500 people seeing the resurrected Jesus. But guess what? That's all you've got. You've got a document supposedly written by Paul that says 500 people saw something. There were no 500 people. There's no evidence that ever happened. There are no eyewitness testimonies from Jesus' lifetime or from his resurrection. This is all bullshit. So if you can just say, well, a story was written down that says 500 people saw something, and you think that's good historical evidence, then me saying that millions of people witnessed Eunice reveal herself on top of a mountain is also even better historical evidence. So if you're going to reject my evidence for Eunice, then obviously we also have to reject your evidence for the resurrection.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
I do. Um, sure. We'll just go. We'll just dodge. We'll just go away from that point. Um, other than that, so your just so I have like a clear understanding. I just want to know your point of view, your thing. So I think we're both completely clear. Well, what is it that you believe in? What is it that you completely is your take or your side? Just so we're both fair.
There's no like dogma that I adhere to where I could just like
Mhm.
tell you like the name of a position and then you would know my worldview. That's just not how intellectual people. Not that I'm an intellectual person, but I strive to be one. And that's not how
Mhm.
like rational people construct their worldviews. You don't just say like, well, Kant said a bunch of cool things, so now I believe everything Kant said. Or I'm not going to say, oh, I like the philosopher Graham Oppy, so now I'm just going to believe everything he says. No, if there's a specific position that you want to specific position you want to know my view on, I guess I
Mhm.
could answer, but I can't just like. Do you want me to
Uh,
just like start rattling off positions that I adhere to?
it would just be your main point in this. Like, is it that you're completely atheist, or what is your view on like you don't believe God is real at all, or like what's your
I take
you know
the
what
I
what's the
take the
position?
position that there is sufficient justification to claim knowledge that God does not exist. In the same way that we can claim knowledge that leprechauns don't exist and that Pegasuses don't exist, I think that there's just similar justification to claim knowledge that gods don't exist.
Okay, cool.
And similarly,
So,
if someone brought me, irrefutable evidence that leprechauns exist, well, obviously I would change my position on leprechauns. Same with God. If
mhm,
someone brings me good evidence that God exists, I will change my position.
got you. So what would be the evidence in your eyes or your, from your point of view that would be like, oh man, like this is what I need to believe in God, or like what is something of that substance?
I would say the
Mhm.
best way to get me there would be a sound deductive argument.
Mm, okay. I mean, from my point of view, I feel like you do your research, and I feel like maybe it's on multiple things, but I really just feel like everything congruent with the Bible and with Jesus. Like it's a no brainer. Like it just makes the most sense. And there's like nothing that also contradicts it in completeness
Yeah,
of the
but if
Bible.
that was true,
Uh-huh.
then you would be able to give me the reasons. Instead, you tried giving me reasons. I was able to show you why they don't work very, very easily. In fact, the most difficult part of showing you
Or
that
the,
they don't work was getting you to be honest enough to admit that I had shown that they don't work. And then now, when you realize that your pretend reasons to believe in God didn't work, instead of trying to give a reason, you're trying to interrogate me to see if I say something that you can latch onto and use some bullshit apologetic technique to try to convert me.
Mhm.
But that's not how any of this works. If I was going to give you an argument for why God doesn't exist, maybe I
Right,
would ask a couple clarifying questions, but I would just give you the fucking argument. So if there's
right.
an argument that demonstrates God's existence, just give the fucking argument.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there. Um, I don't do debates a lot, so like forgive me. But also yeah. So I mean, completeness to man, I think just God even being like there being a God and there being one creator. And I just dial it down to Jesus because it's like it just makes the most sense overall
Okay,
historically.
this is just saying what you believe. What I'm not interested in you like telling us all about your stupid beliefs. I'm interested in whether or not there's a reason to believe what you believe.
Right. I mean, it's just I'm kind of trying to go off like what you said before me, the guy who like
Yeah, don't
just
go
kind of
off what other people have said or what I've said to other people. Just provide me some argument or evidence for God.
right. I mean, to me, it's just very clear. There being a creator,
Okay, so you don't
something,
have any actual
something.
argument or evidence, you just have your own presuppositions.
No, it's just more of like something can't come from nothing. I think
Uh-huh.
that's a great argument.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with whether or not a God exists.
Why not?
The only people who believe that something can come from nothing are people who believe in gods. I don't know any atheist, and maybe there's an atheist out there who thinks something can come from nothing, but I don't know any atheists out there, certainly
Mm,
not anybody debating this topic, who would make the claim that something came from nothing and that's where the universe comes from and that's why there's no God. That is a straw man that theists tell themselves to make themselves feel better about not having a reason, because it's a lot easier to be okay with the fact that you don't have any reasons for your belief if you pretend that other people don't have reasons for their beliefs either. So just pretending that atheists believe stupid stuff like something comes from nothing isn't a good way to actually support your position. So what I'm asking for isn't what do you think is wrong with other people's worldview. I'm asking what is the reason that we should believe your worldview is correct.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. So it's really that, yeah, again, something can't come from nothing.
Okay, again, stop. Arrows. Stop.
Yes, sir.
Stop talking about why you don't think other things are true, and tell me the reasons to think that the things you believe in are true. If you mention a thing that you don't believe in, again, I'm just going to move on because you're obviously not actually trying to have this conversation in good faith.
Yes, yeah, no, I understand. Okay, it's basically that, I mean, Jesus was a real person, and can we both agree on that, yes or no?
No.
Why not?
Well, there's not sufficient evidence. Is there some evidence that he might have existed? Sure. Is there sufficient evidence to conclude that he definitely did? Absolutely not.
So I would disagree. I would disagree that based upon like.
I don't think it matters, to be honest with you. We talked about this earlier.
That's your view. That's your opinion.
Okay, but what you're supposed to be doing is providing evidence for God. Jesus. We already talked about earlier that Jesus existing doesn't provide any evidence for God. And when I explained that to you, you then tried to pivot to the resurrection, and then I showed you that you don't have anything for that either. So it sounds like we're probably done here, Arrows. Maybe if you actually have an argument sometime in the future, you can come back. I'm trying to get better about not keeping people around too long after it's clear that it's over. So I'll try to do better with that. Hey, thanks everybody for the support. You guys fucking rule. Thank you to where are we fucking at here? Jesus Christ. Oh, apparently I'm pretty vulgar today too. Thank you Bradley Cooper and Lem and McCaden and Radio Spencer. Thank you so much Susie, Lupine, Molly, SciTech Nature, Goblin Brain, Discordant Rhyme, Midnight Zoomies, Lupine, Lem. Thank you everybody so much. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you for the shares, for the likes. I'm sure at least some of those 110,000 likes are real. Damn, thanks Life's a Glitch. You're fucking awesome. Thanks for the new followers. Oh, Lawn Doctor, thank you as well. We have less than 150 followers to go to get to 4,000. So I'm super stoked about that. Thank you everybody. But yeah, we'll move on to the next guest. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. Well, I'm not gonna do the cameras. I've had, especially not when you're.
I agree, man. I don't even want it on anyway.
Okay, good.
There we go. Cool.
How old are you?
I'll be 21 on the 31st.
Okay, and then what God do you believe in?
I believe in the God of the Bible.
Okay, I assume you mean the Christian Bible.
Whatever the scrolls were, the originals.
Well, we don't have any originals for anything called the Bible, so I'm just asking if you believe in the Jewish God from the Hebrew Bible, or if you believe in the Christian God from the Christian Bible.
Okay. Well, I'll say. What's the Bible that you would buy from a bookstore in America? What is that?
You talk about the one that's called the Holy Bible that has the Old Testament and the New Testament in it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the
Old
Christian.
Testament.
That's the Christian Bible.
Yes, Christian Bible is what I believe in.
Okay, what's the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Okay, I do have an argument, or not an argument. I do have a point, and before I say it,
nope,
I
you're just
wanted
going to give the
ask.
argument. We're not doing the games.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to see why you don't believe in it, so I could.
Yep, that has nothing to do with your argument. So just give the argument, please.
Well, it does because I have a few arguments, but all right. So the reason why I believe in this Bible is because of the prophecy and So, are you familiar with Revelation? Are you familiar with the Bible?
I am.
Okay. So, I believe
And I know that
that.
the book of Revelation was about first century Rome. So all the prophecies and predictions in it were supposed to happen, 2000 years ago. So they could not possibly have anything to do with anything happening today. And if you
Oh
think
no.
that they do have anything to do with anything happening today, then you are just exposing to everyone that you have no idea what the book of Revelation is about.
Right, that would make sense. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with the Book of Daniel?
Not extremely familiar. I'm a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So, not just Revelation. Actually, more the Book of Daniel, bouncing back from Daniel to Revelation because they actually correspond with each other. So
Let's imagine that there are a bunch of prophecies that did come true. How do we know that that's reason to believe in God and not either a coincidence or fake prophecies that were written after the events they're supposed to prophesy already happened?
right, exactly.
Yeah, so how did we confirm that they were genuine prophecies that actually came from a God?
Well, first, we got to look back at history. So, you got Babylon, Medo-Persia.
No, what you're supposed to be doing right now is giving me a reason to think that these prophecies came from a God. Giving me a history lesson about the book of Daniel isn't really going to help. The other problem that you're going to have with anything from Daniel is that Daniel was actually written, if I'm not mistaken, like somewhere around 300 years after it's supposed to have been written, which is why all the prophecies about what was it, like the 2nd century BC? I would have to check again when it was actually written. When was the book of Daniel actually written? Main theories and blah blah blah. So it's probably written around the 6th century BCE, but it pretends to be from around. So it was about 530 BCE. And it pretends to be
that's
from
all right.
around 165 BCE. So
right.
all
as
of the
long as it's before Christ.
no, because all the prophecies in Daniel are about things that were happening in the 2nd century BCE, not about
No,
Jesus.
actually, well, that's what I wanted to show you, man. Is actually, it predicts. It predicts before that actually.
It predicts what?
So that's why I was trying to tell you.
Just tell me.
The history.
Just tell me what what the Daniel predicts.
Okay,
Jesus fucking Christ, my guy.
Well, I'm trying.
Get
man.
to it.
So
Stop talking about saying it and just fucking say it, my guy.
So you got the fall of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Alexander the Great, and then you have.
Just tell me the prophecy and how you know it came from a god.
Well, I'm getting there. We're
not going to get there. We're not doing that, Eli. Either the next thing you say is the actual meat of and bones of what your argument is, or I'm moving on.
Okay, so can we read some verses?
All right, so I'm moving on. If you cannot just say the argument, if you cannot just give me the evidence, then I'm not going to waste time. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and they have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Thank you so much for the support. Life's a Glitch, Grandpa Books, SciTech Nature. I always see you live, Grandpa Books, like when I'm like at work, and I always see you live when I'm at work, and I wish I could watch at least, but I never can because you're live while I'm at work. But Jason DeBateman, thank you so much. Kimchi, I love you. Thank you. Casey, thank you so much. You guys fucking rule. Okay. So if I already said all that stuff about being in the guest queue. All right, we'll bring up the next person. Hi, N8s. How old are you?
Over 21.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I mean, I don't believe in I'm a Christian, but it's not like I believe in Yahweh.
What? That doesn't make
I'm a
any
Christian,
sense.
but
You cannot be a
Why?
Christian unless you believe that Jesus and Yahweh are the same God. That's what
Don't tell me I can't
Christianity
be a
is.
Christian. Don't tell me I can't be a Christian. I'm a Christian.
I mean, that's what. Okay, what's the best
Are you
argument or
arbitrary?
evidence for God?
Okay, well, I would say God is actually provable mathematically, but there being no God is not provable mathematically. So, a rational person would see these two things and be like, well, there's
Okay, so
more
here's the
evidence for
thing.
God
And
and there's no
whatever your
evidence
fucking
for
name
not
is,
God.
look, here's the thing. I don't want you to talk about there
Natas.
being a demonstration. I just want you to give it. If you can't do that, I'm moving on.
Yeah, there's mathematical proof.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's mathematical proof that there's no God, so now you're an atheist, right?
There is no mathematical proof.
No, I
That's
just
what
I
was
just
saying
told
when
you that
interrupted me.
I just told you that there is. It's
You want me to
from
give you the
it's
mathematical proof?
it seems like from your perspective, all you have to do is say that there's proof, and that's good enough to convince people, right?
Well, have you seen the mathematical proof?
Well, I don't
Give it
know.
to you.
I mean, I could have if you would have just told me instead of saying that it exists. You fucking moron.
Well,
Are you seriously this dumb?
I mean, you don't have to be so rude. Yeah, I'm dumb, but you don't have to be so rude.
Well, if you weren't being an idiot, I wouldn't be rude to you. I asked you to give the argument, and instead of giving the argument or presenting evidence, you said there's mathematical proof. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Do you want to present the argument or evidence or not? Yeah, because you weren't on topic, you fucking idiot. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you one more opportunity. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you one more opportunity. If you say anything other than the actual substance, I'm going to move on.
That is the substance. I'm giving you the substance.
Okay, so that was not substance. I don't know how difficult it is. If I'm asking for the argument or the evidence, just give the argument or evidence. Don't tell me that evidence exists. You don't need to tell me evidence exists. All right, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Okay. Eventually somebody will connect. Yeah, Clog, he was off topic immediately. If I ask you for an argument or evidence, and your response is to tell me that there is an argument or evidence, then you're not doing your job. Hi, Thinker. How old are you?
Hello, I'm 23.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
I'm a theist.
Okay.
Not really subscribed yet. So I believe, so I don't 100% believe that there is a God or no God, but I think there's sufficient evidence to believe that there could be a God. And I think that there's multiple examples, right? Like, so I know you probably heard the cosmological argument, right? But I actually want to also prove why the beginning of the universe is the only option that could exist. In an infinite universe, it's almost impossible. So then we can dissect from there, and then we can dissect how a universe has a beginning. It makes more logical sense to be created by, I guess, a God. So first, the reason why an infinite universe cannot happen, I mean, unless you say it goes through cycles. Second of all, it would reach heat death, right? The universe at one point would...
Yeah, why couldn't it just be Big Bounce, Big Crunch?
Yeah, so but if you're saying it's infinite, that means an infinite amount of events would have to happen before we get to the present. So that means that we will never reach the present because
Why not?
Because an infinite amount of things have to happen before we reach the present.
You already said that.
Yeah, so the present mathematically could never occur.
Why? That's just the claim again.
Because the space between the events is infinite. And when something is
so that's
infinite,
just the claim. That's just the claim again. So and also no, that's just wrong, right?
How is that wrong?
Because what you're saying, what you're trying to imply is that the space between the beginning and now would be infinite, but that's just begging the question against an infinite past. An infinite past wouldn't have a beginning, so there would be no beginning to get here infinitely from. So you're just making a category error.
Yeah, correct. So
correct. So your argument fails because it's a category error. Correct.
No. So if there's no beginning, then there is no way to reach.
No, that's just the claim again, Thinker. And then when you were trying to support the claim, you didn't support the claim. You made a category error. So try to support the claim again, please.
Yeah. So, okay, traversing an actual infinity, right?
Yeah, you don't have to traverse an infinity. Oh, excuse me. Nobody has to traverse an infinity.
Okay.
Why can't the past be infinite?
because I'll explain to why it can't be infinite, right? So the reason why it can't, it's because if the past has occurred and we can track the past, right, and we can track the past to a certain point, right, regardless of that point being infinite around, right, we can track it, right, we can track it. But
Well,
when
there
we
would
get
be
to
no
infinite,
point infinitely far away. There would be no
if
point infinitely far away, even if the past is
but,
infinite.
but we
That's
would
just
be
not
able to
how it
track.
works.
We
Any
will still
point
be
in the past would have a finite distance between it and now.
okay. So the universe having a beginning, correct? Right.
No, we're talking
That
about
means
if the past was infinite. What's the problem with the past being infinite without a category error or
the
another
heat death is one of them,
simple
but
blunder?
I gave you
No,
like
we
the
already
heat death.
said that it could be cyclical, and that gets around heat death because entropy would reset in the crunches. So there's no reason
So,
why a cyclical universe can't be infinite.
well, if it's infinite, right, you're still not describing or explaining why it's there in the first place.
I don't care. That's not the issue right now. You're trying to shift to a different topic. Don't pivot. Tell me why the past
Okay.
can't be infinite.
The past can be infinite, I guess, in a logical sense. Not that it's because I just explained to you, we will never be able to reach the present.
From where?
If the past, from the past, which
Why?
is infinite.
No,
Because it is
again,
not-
all you're doing is making the same category error. You're saying we
Okay.
couldn't reach the present from the past, but if we
Mhm.
pick if we look at it the way I'm saying we should look at it, you pick any point in the past, it's going to be a finite distance away, and that finite distance can be traveled. If you're trying
Yeah.
to say, since the past is infinite, we can't get here from the beginning, well, that's your problem. You're making a category error because an infinite past would not have a beginning. So what you
So
need
you're
to
saying
do
that-
is what you need to do now is
Mhm.
explain why the past can't be infinite without appealing to entropy, because we always showed how that's not irrelevant, or how that's not relevant, and without making a category error, and without pivoting to a different topic.
Yeah, so like many expanding universes models include standard inflation models.
So tell me why the
Requires some kind
past can't be infinite.
it requires some past boundary, right? So if it
No,
requires
you're
some
trying to talk
past
about
boundary-
BGV now, and BGV assumes a past, a finite past, and then obviously the calculations that result from that assumption are consistent with a finite past. That has nothing to do with whether the past is finite or infinite. So, last chance. Why should we think there's a problem with an infinite past?
because I don't believe infinite regression has ever been proven.
Okay, well, so there you go. Now it all boils down to an argument from ignorance. I don't know that it could be that way, therefore it can't be that way. That's not an actual argument. If I told you, well, God can't possibly exist because I don't know that anybody's proved it, well, that's dumb. That's me making an epistemic claim, not an actual claim about what's true. Just like you saying, well, no, I don't think anybody's demonstrated an actual infinite. That's an epistemic claim, not a claim about what's actually true or possible. So, so now that you've demonstrated to everybody that you cannot discuss this infinite past thing, you have nothing there. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Well, hold on. So you believe on evidence being sufficient. If there is lack of evidence for the universe being infinite or the infinite regression existing, why do you hold such a strong belief that it could exist when you don't hold a belief to a God?
When did I say that I held a belief in an infinite past? You're just gonna straw man me now and say that I hold positions that I never claimed?
I never.
Is that your debate tactic? Is you're just going to
So
pretend people hold positions they don't hold and then argue against the positions that they
No.
never took
But
on themselves?
You just said just because you don't have models of the universe being infinite or infinite regression doesn't mean that it's not the case. Yeah. Okay.
When
But
did
that's
I
not what
say
we're talking
when
about.
did I say that I held to an infinite past?
Well, you were debating me on why it's illogical.
Yes,
To
and you
believe.
can't support that claim.
Lack of evidence for it. I can support it. There's
No, you
lack- there's
can't.
lack of-
No, you
there's lack
can't.
of
No,
models.
no, you
to prove.
can't. So you
We have
can,
no
so
idea
so
what
we should
happened
say
before the
that
Big Bang.
anything that hasn't been sufficiently proven, we know for sure doesn't exist.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
course.
So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Just because we haven't proven that there
Oh, I
is for
agree with
sure
you.
an infinite past,
Yeah, I agree with you.
and
Yeah.
just because I don't personally hold to an infinite past doesn't mean
Mhm.
that there is some problem with an infinite past. The reason I don't hold to an infinite past is because we don't have sufficient evidence to know that that is the case. However, we also don't have any reason to think that it couldn't be the case. The only reason that I don't hold to an infinite past is because there are other viable models that we haven't ruled out yet, and I think we would need to rule those out before we would jump on the infinite past train. But your problem here is your argument requires that an infinite past is impossible, and so you've taken that burden on, and you have not been able to meet that burden. Now, we've already discussed it at length. You've shown that you do not have anything to the point where you started recycling arguments, so I'm not going to tread that ground again. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, so since you and me hold to the same belief as either a first cause or a beginning
No.
of the universe.
No.
You know?
No.
Okay.
Stop
Well,
trying
what
to
do
put words in my mouth.
Okay, what do you believe in?
It does not matter what my position is. Do you have support for your position or not?
Well, if we both have evidence for our positions, what's the point?
Okay, I'm going to give you one more opportunity. If you can't answer the question, if you can't support your position, I'm just going to move on. There's no way to have a
Oh.
debate if you can't even support your position. So do you have
Yeah.
any argument or evidence that would present a reason to believe in God?
Yeah, of course. There's like I said. So yeah, the contingency argument is a good one, but I think more of a interweb hierarchical argument makes more sense to me. I think that the universe doesn't only work in a past connection where everything from the past was predetermined when the universe first started, from quantum physics to every molecule. That if we knew the laws of physics to 100%, we can predict every movement.
Okay,
maybe
you're just
to
talking
even
about
the end of the
determinism. I need you to.
Yeah,
I need you to
determinism.
get to the
Yeah.
point, man.
Yeah, so okay. So I think the web as well, that everything that is held together by a hierarchical where things are supported by other things in an infinite amount of
Are you trying to talk about a
progression.
per se causal chain?
Hierarchical, yeah, causal chain, right? Yeah. So not a contingent, pragmatic. I'm not trying to the contingency argument. I'm trying to the hierarchy argument where things are connected in real time, right? Not like a past. Like right now, I am supported by the bed. The bed is supported by the floor. Floor by gravity. Gravity is held in the time of space.
Yeah.
Space is held by galaxies, right? So all these things clear to me indicated there's some order to the universe. Now, this order doesn't prove there is a God, but it does prove that it's not as random and as chaotic as we think it could be, and that there could be something that we don't understand about the structure of the universe and how it came to be, and maybe it was always meant to exist this way.
Okay,
right?
but what's the reason to
Mhm.
believe in God? I have not heard anything.
Yeah, so the reason why I believe that a God makes more sense than not a God is because I don't think the evidence is not there when it comes to like actual like proof. But when you look at it, if you do subscribe to like the chain events, right? You are not describing how a random event or a first cause of the universe could create an order of webs if it wasn't intended to. And if it's intended and it just has a mind, you kind of subscribe that the universe had intentions. But how can something have intentions?
No,
if it
hold
doesn't
on.
exist?
Stop. I don't have any. I have genuinely no idea how what argument you're trying to give right now, or what like
Mhm.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
How? I just explained it.
No, I do not understand. Get me to God. Like just get me to
The
God.
hierarchy argument, if everything is connected, if everything is supported by something else, right? Like I'm supported by the bed is
Okay,
supported,
what's
right?
no? This has nothing to do with whether there's a God, because all you're going to do if you try to do that like hierarchical like what's like currently
Mhm.
supporting things, what are things like dependent on right now? Well, you're going to
Yeah.
bottom out in the planet, right? Like I'm sitting
No.
on a chair, the chair's on the
Gravity.
floor, and the floor is supported by
Gravity.
the foundation of the house. The foundation of the house is supported by the planet, and that's supported by nothing.
By gravity.
No, the
Gravity
planet
is
is not
supported by
held up.
galaxy.
No, the great planet is not held up by gravity. It is
But by
not
time and
supported.
space.
It is not supported by anything. It grounds out in the planet. So you can't say that you need to keep going to a God. If we're talking about what's holding things up, and that's the kind of like causal relationship that you're pointing to, well, that causal chain ends at the planet.
How? How does
Okay,
that
what's
end?
holding the planet? What's holding the planet up in
The
space?
sun? The sun.
Nope.
The sun is holding us in
No. No. What's holding it up? What's keeping it from falling?
from falling?
Yeah. What's keeping
Gravity.
it? No, it's not. No.
So if the sun disappeared, we wouldn't be going in a misleading direction.
No, we would
Like-
not fall. Nope.
Well, no, we wouldn't fall because there's no up and
Correct.
down
So there's
in
nothing
space,
stopping.
correct.
There is nothing stopping the Earth from falling. The causal relationship that you're appealing to.
So
The
why is
causal
Earth
the
falling?
causal relationship that you're appealing to right now is what is stopping things from falling. Well, that
Mhm.
bottoms out at the Earth. If you want to talk about a different causal relationship, we can discuss a different causal relationship. The problem though is
Yeah.
that the causal
Okay.
relationship that you're appealing to has a bottom, and it's not God.
Okay, so you said that the Earth, like let's get on the same page. So the Earth is not held by anything, right? But it
It's
has
not
an
being held
order.
up in the way that the chair is holding me up right now, so I don't fall and hit my ass on the floor.
Mhm.
Nothing is holding the Earth up like that. There is nothing that stands in that kind of causal relation to the Earth. Therefore, the causal chain that you're appealing to does not bottom out in God, it bottoms out in the Earth.
Wait,
So
but
if there is a
that
causal
doesn't-
chain of some sort that's supposed to get us to God, it's not going to be this one.
Okay, so the degree, yeah, it doesn't hold it like a chair, but
Oh,
we're still held in
fantastic. So now
place.
that there is nothing that now that we have determined that causal relationship does not get us to God, is there one that does?
Yeah, so you first of all, I don't understand why you're refuting something that I'm trying to bring up, because it's
Yeah, why would I
literally
refute your points in a debate? Have no idea why I would do
no,
that.
no, no, not refute. You're not even letting me explain. Yeah, so the planet is held in order by the sun, and the sun is held in order by the Milky Way. Do you understand? It's not the same as the bed, but it's
Okay, and so
still
what is the
a
Milky Way
web
held in orbit by?
by the universe or by other galaxies.
How did you
The
demonstrate
great
that?
attractor.
Yeah, how
The
did you
great
demonstrate
attractor.
that?
Well, we know that all the galaxies are being pulled in a certain direction by something. Well, that doesn't obviously prove that it is a web that is holding it. It could just be a
So
cause and
what?
effect.
So now we're talking about the held in orbit causal relation. I agree that the sun is holding the Earth in causal or in
Yes.
orbit. I agree that there is a black hole at the center of the Milky Way that is holding the solar system in orbit. What's holding the Milky Way in orbit, and how does this orbiting causal relation get us to God?
Yeah. So the Milky Way is
Okay, so just tell me
necessarily
what's orbiting around God.
what's orbiting around God.
Yeah, because obviously what you're saying is that the orbiting causal chain will
The
get us to
relation
God.
changed, though. The
No,
relation changed
no,
based on the scale.
no,
Yeah,
no,
it
because this
does.
is
We're not
what you're
orbiting the
doing.
table.
No, what you're doing is you're equivocating. You're saying that this kind of causal relation goes this way, and because this causal relation, has multiple sets or like multiple things holding in a similar relation, then there must be some causal relation that gets us to God. Well, I just need you to tell me that causal relation.
So
Because
that is
the
first one.
holding things up one didn't get us there, and the
Mhm.
orbiting one isn't going to get us there because nothing's orbiting around God, is it?
No.
Yeah,
the
exactly. So the
relationship
orbiting
changed.
causal relationship isn't going to get us there. So what's the causal relationship that's going to get us to God?
Wait, are you saying that because the relationship changes based on structure that it's invalid to a structure being there? Like
It's a
me,
different
obviously, I'm
causal
not,
chain. Your whole point is that there's a causal chain that gets
but
to
it's
God.
connected.
Your point,
It's connected,
your
though.
point is that there's a causal chain that gets to God. You can't
Yeah.
pivot to a different causal chain when we find out that the one that you mentioned bottoms out in
Mhm.
something that's not God. Therefore, I'm trying to help you by recommending that you start with that we talk about a causal chain that does bottom out in God.
Yeah, so God would be the first chain, which would be the Big Bang, right? So the creation. of
No,
the Big
why
Bang
would that
be
be the
first.
why would no? Because now we're right back to the argument that you couldn't support before, which is the claim that the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe. How do you demonstrate that?
By evidence that everything. that
Oh,
we
by
can see-
evidence. Oh shit! Why didn't I think of that? Oh my God! Well, now
Yeah.
I believe in God. Now that I know that it's based on evidence.
No.
Jesus
so,
fucking
so
Christ, dude. Okay, seriously.
the-
I need you genuinely. I need you to lock the fuck in, my guy. What is the evidence that the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe?
Okay, so quantum fluctuation is one of them. If we want to go that that
Okay,
route.
so where is the paper or study that I can read that says quantum fluctuation demonstrates that the Big Bang
it's
is the beginning of
our
the universe?
that we understand now.
Where
begins
can
in-
I read a scientific paper that says quantum fluctuation demonstrates the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe?
Let's see. Give me a second.
Well, you're not going to find it. And you know how I know you're not going to find it? Because there were multiple studies done in the last couple of years, including one that had thousands of respondents, where the cosmologists and physicists who responded said that the Big Bang is a theory that says the universe evolves from a hot, dense state, that says nothing about whether there was an absolute beginning of time or not. So the scientific opinion on the Big Bang is that it tells us nothing about whether the universe has a beginning. So
Yeah,
there
'cause
is
the-
no
'cause the laws of
scientific.
physics
There
break
is
down.
no,
Yeah.
no. What I'm explaining to you is that the current position in physics and cosmology is that the Big Bang is not. We have no reason to think the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe. So you're saying that there is evidence. Obviously, it's not going to come from physics or cosmology, or that survey
Yeah.
would have given us a much different result. So what's
Yeah.
the evidence outside of physics and cosmology that tells us the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe?
That's a good point. Yeah, so you're basically making me you're kind of forcing me to either admit that the Big Bang could be another part of the web that I can't prove to tie it to God, right? Because we don't know what happened before the Big Bang, which is a good point. Or you just make me prove that the Big Bang is the first cause that can link to God.
Yes, I do want you to actually support your
Exactly.
claims. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So it becomes very hard at that point because
Yeah, because there isn't any evidence for your position, and you hold it anyway.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that is going to be
there's-
really difficult for you to support a position that you hold without reasons. Yes, I agree with you.
Well, yeah. Obviously, it's
Right.
since there's lack of evidence, but you believe in a certain beginning of the universe. That
Don't do it
has some
again.
lack of
Don't do it.
evidence. I'm not doing it.
Thinker,
I'm
how
just-
many
I'm just
times are we
assuming.
going to do this where you try to tell me a position that I hold when I don't
No,
hold
you
that
probably,
position?
you probably say you don't know when it comes before the Big Bang. I assume that's what you do. Yeah, I agree. But that's
Yeah,
still a
but you just
position
tried to
to
tell
hold.
me what position you think I hold. for the
But
third
that's still a
time now.
position. You're saying you don't know, right? That's still a position, right?
No, you just got done talking about what I think the beginning of the universe is, and when I pointed out that you're doing the same thing you did before, then you pivoted to something else where, oh, maybe he would just say he doesn't know. So stop
Well, I'm
trying to
assuming because-
talk about what my positions are when you don't know
Yeah.
them, and just tell
Yeah.
me if there's a reason to think the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe, because it sounds like every argument you have relies on the Big Bang being the beginning of the universe.
Yeah, so it becomes very hard because I cannot.
Well, I don't want you to tell me
there's-
how hard it is. I want you to tell me the reason to think the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe. Or you could just
Oh.
concede.
Let me. So, I can give some sorts of evidence that.
Okay, I don't want you to tell me that you can give evidence. I want you to give the evidence. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're either going to present an argument or evidence, or you're going to concede.
Okay.
And if you say something that isn't presenting argument or evidence, then we'll all know that that's a concession.
Okay, 1 second. So, okay, one of them, what I would like to do is the expansion of the universe. So, since like galaxies are moving far away from one another, like, you know,
We know the
stars
expansion had a
are
beginning, and that was the Big Bang. Why should we think that the beginning of
Yeah.
the expansion was also the beginning of the universe?
okay, cosmic background radiation.
No, that
Right.
just
We
tells us
can't
that
try-
the expansion began. Why should we think that the beginning of the expansion was also the beginning of the universe's existence?
Yeah, because okay, what is it? What is it? The absence of light elements? Is that another
No.
one? Where...
No, because that's again just talking about the CMB, which is the cosmic microwave background radiation. That's just saying that for that first whatever 380,000 years of the expansion of the universe, everything was too dense for light to move, and so when the first light started moving, that created this background noise that we now see as the cosmic microwave background radiation. Fine,
Okay,
that's
then
that's
would
a
you-
thing that exists. That tells us that
Yeah.
that the expansion began from a hot dense state billions of years ago. What is the evidence that the beginning of the expansion of the universe was also the beginning of the existence of the universe? Those are two very
Okay,
different
so
things.
wait.
The first one we both agree on, the second one we don't agree on, and that's what you're supposed to be demonstrating. So you need to stop talking about the first one.
Yeah, so the second one, so the expansion of the universe we agree on, yeah. So the background, yeah. So okay, so because of leftover heat, that was what,
This is all just about the expansion. Why should we think that that was the beginning of the universe's existence?
Yeah, because before we get to the beginning of the universe, our laws of physics understanding break down, assuming that it is the start of laws in physics, right? Like the general.
Okay, so now
relativity-
you're just saying that we don't have any evidence because the laws of physics break down and we can't describe it. So obviously, like I said before,
What
you
does
have
the
to
laws
go
of physics
outside.
break down, demonstrate. What does the
it
laws
demo-
of physics break down?
What
does
that
that demonstrate?
demonstrates is that we don't understand how things worked then, and that means that we have no reason to draw conclusions about how things worked then, which means we have no reason to think that we know whether or not it was the beginning of the universe, at least not from that evidence. So is there some other evidence outside physics and cosmology that would give us a reason to think that the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe's existence?
Yeah, so you taking the take that laws of physics breaking down means the position you'd say that it means that basically we don't know how it works. Could it also mean that it didn't work because there was no laws of physics because there was no universe?
No, I mean, we have no reason to think that's the case.
Well,
You would need evidence to demonstrate that that's the
well,
conclusion
the
we
laws
should
of
draw.
physics is how the universe works.
No, it's our attempt to describe how the universe works.
Describe the universe.
And there are
Okay.
things about the universe that we don't know,
We
and
don't
so therefore
understand.
we don't know how to describe accurately. So just because we don't know how to describe something accurately doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Let's imagine that I was in a gas station, right? And I'm definitely buying a very, very healthy, not energy drink, something else. I'm not buying an energy drink. I'm buying something healthy, and not a burger either. And so I'm in the gas station for normal healthy purposes, and then it gets robbed. But because of all the everything going on and all the stress and everything happening, and there's even a gunshot, and my brain is addled
Yeah.
because I'm not usually around gunfire. Now I can't actually describe the robber to the police. Does that mean the robber doesn't exist?
No, correct. It
Yeah,
just means that you
exactly.
didn't have- yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just means that I don't have enough information to describe what he looked like, and I'm failing both in my health goals and in helping the police catch the guy. So now, in the same exact way, just because we can't describe what things were like, prior to the Planck time when the physics breaks down, doesn't mean that we should be able to start drawing conclusions about what did or didn't exist then.
Yeah, I guess I can't convince you in things that we don't.
It's not about whether or not you can convince me. You
There's
don't. You
no.
literally don't
Yeah.
have any evidence for your position.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
at least if you had some evidence for your position, then you could say, "Well, I presented the evidence, but I guess it's not convincing to you." That I could understand. But it's not that you've presented unconvincing evidence; it's that you have not presented evidence.
Okay. So the web thing just gets scraped off because you just don't believe that it explains to God.
Right,
Okay.
because what you're doing with it is you're trying to equivocate between different chains of causation. When you point to a chain of causation as evidence for God, that chain of causation needs to ground out in God. But when you tried to do that, we went right back to the beginning of the universe, which now from two different angles you haven't been able to present any evidence for.
Yeah.
You
Well,
haven't
like
been able to
also-
give the negative case against an infinite past, and you haven't been able to give a positive case for the beginning of the universe.
Okay. Okay. So if I take the approach of like things exist and have causal power, like only because they're sustained by other things, like would you accept that?
Well, I would just say that we don't have any reason to think that that also couldn't be infinite. And then you're going to say, oh, but then it doesn't have a beginning. Well, yeah, that's the nature of an infinite chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but how do we get to a conclusion of understanding how that chain is there and why you should
Right.
believe in it?
Right. That's what I'm saying is you're looking for the beginning, you're looking for the origin. But if I'm saying if it's infinite, then that's a category error, or it's begging the question.
Okay. So what would you approach it as if you had to take as evidence as
I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what you're asking.
So I'm asking if you were to approach the position, what would you do differently of a causation, or what would be a position you would take in believing in a God, or to a certain degree, right? Because some people think there's good evidence, some people say there isn't, some people say they don't know, right? Like I'm assuming you're more likely in the argument that because we have enough knowledge to believe that God is not real. So
Right.
I take that position, right? But
Correct.
what do you think the knowledge would be to believe in a God, or how would you approach that?
I have no idea, because as far as I can tell, the concept of a God, at least the current normal conception of a God that most people hold to, the kind of immaterial mind that created and sustains the universe, as far as I can tell, it's simply not possible for something like that to exist.
Okay.
Like
so you would just conceive it from existing in the first place.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Would you say either it's illogical to believe in it, or could you see that it could be kind of like what the universe was before the laws of physics, where like God exists in this area where we may never be able to prove or disprove him? So
that would still be illogical to believe in.
Illogical to believe in.
It would still be illogical to believe in. If you're saying that, well, maybe God exists, but we just don't have epistemic access to being able to demonstrate his existence, well, in that case, it would still be illogical to believe in God because we don't have epistemic access to reasons to believe in it. And obviously, by definition, believing something without reasons is irrational.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I appreciate the conversation. I feel like we've kind of gone as far as we can go. If you have, you seem to, for the most part, be fairly good faith. So if you have a different argument, or maybe you come up with a different way to approach these arguments, I'd be happy to talk with you. All I'll ask you is that you don't come back, like tomorrow or anything. Give me give it an actual couple weeks, maybe a month or two, where you're actually thinking about this stuff, and then come back and crush me.
Okay, I'll try. Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself.
You too.
Well, that ended up okay. It wasn't too bad. Ended up reasonably good faith. Sorry, I know it's probably boring when I end the conversations and then I sit here typing notes and stuff, but it's just really helpful for me to write it down right away. Yeah, I would agree, Kimchi, better than most, for sure. Before I move on to the next person, thank you everybody so much for the support. Damn, everybody. I sincerely appreciate it so much. Lem, Denisean, Bear, Lupine, Israeli, 3 Pips, SciTech Nature, Greenball, thank you all so much. I love the Panther Paw, Kimchi. Thank you. That's fucking awesome. Hey, thanks, L. David Thomas. Hey, are you the other guy that has the unicorn? Are you the other guy with the unicorn? Because I have Eunice, the universe fighting unicorn. Yeah, my deity that I like to talk about is Eunice, the universe farting unicorn. And I've noticed you had a farting unicorn too, so that's awesome. I don't know which of us came up with it first, but I would assume that we probably just both had a similar idea around the same time. But yeah, okay. Anyway, and also thanks for the follow. Yeah, that's awesome. Man, we're closing in on 3,900 and not far away from 4,000 then. But yeah, thank you everybody so much for the support. You know what I like seeing? I like seeing people with stuff like trans flags in their profile following me. That makes me feel like I'm doing I'm doing something right, that you know, people in marginalized groups feel safe, you know, following me, and that I'm not going to be, you know, threatening or fuck up their FYP or anything like that. So I take that to mean something very positive. I take that as a compliment. That's what I was trying to say. I take that as a compliment. So thank you. Okay. I certainly try to be kimchi. I don't know if it's for me to say that I'm an ally, but I certainly try to be. Anyway, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Tyshawn. How old are you?
19.
Okay, and then what God do you believe in?
Christianity, the only real and true God, bro. Yes.
Fair enough. And then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in God?
I think the best evidence is definitely like the trees and the stars around us. I think they're
Really?
very.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, the problem is, though, I looked at a tree one time and it convinced me that there is no God. So I don't know what to do now.
Oh, it's because you're not looking at it the right way. See.
Oh, what do I need to do differently?
So basically, you're looking at trees and like you're not looking at a deeper meaning of it. Like you're looking at life, like you're looking at life in just like a human way. Like you think everything is man-made to you. Everything's not man-made. Everything.
Oh,
is
but here this whole
God's.
time I thought the sun was man-made. All right. Well, I'll try to look at the trees differently next time, Tyshawn. Thanks for your advice. All right. I know. We just don't look at it the right way. I need to look at some more trees. In fact, where is tree? That's my favorite tree is not here. Oh, that was definitely a troll, Broken Tree Branch. Look at the trees. All right. If you are... Yeah, the trees are awesome, but no, I agree. I also haven't found God. I found squirrels in the trees. I've definitely seen squirrels in the trees. And crows, and as cool as crows are, I don't know that they're gods. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure you're an adult and you actually have some serious argument or evidence for God. Yeah, birds are awesome. Hi, Andrew. How old are you?
49.
Okay, and then what God do you believe in?
Well, I was raised Christian, so I mean, I believe in that to a sense.
Okay, and then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide reason to believe in God?
There would be no God unless you could observe something. I feel like we're all fragments of a source, but I don't feel like I had a near-death experience when I was two.
But I'm just looking for some reason to believe in God, and it sounds like maybe you're saying that there isn't a reason?
Well, I'm just saying that God wouldn't exist unless you could observe it.
Okay, well, I've never observed God, so does that mean that God doesn't exist?
No, but with your argument with Infinity Past, you said that if there wasn't enough evidence, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's fine. But in order for it to be justified to believe in something, then you need to have evidence for it. So what is the evidence for God that would give us reason to believe in it?
Well, I don't even know if, I mean, we're taught as a young age that Christianity or whatever. But
okay, I'm not interested in what people are taught. I didn't ask a question about that. Do you understand the question that I asked you, Andrew?
Yeah, I understand. I understand that you can't prove that he exists or not.
No, you
Nobody
can. Yes, absolutely. It is possible to prove that he doesn't
I
exist.
agree with you on that.
No, you don't agree with
And
me. You don't agree with me, Andrew, because it is possible to prove that God doesn't exist. But you're supposed to be presenting some kind of argument or evidence that God does exist. So I will give you one last opportunity. What's your best? What's the best you've got?
with the best that I got, okay, we wouldn't exist if there wasn't some kind of creator. There
That's
just
certainly a
wouldn't be any
claim. I'm just,
existence at all.
yeah, I'm asking for the evidence or the argument that would demonstrate that to be true.
I've been outside of this body. I've
Okay,
seen
these are all just
what it's like
claims.
to.
Do you have any evidence or
Yeah, they're
argument for the
personal,
claims?
and you won't know until it happens to you.
Okay,
When
fair
you leave
enough.
your body and
I
you can.
agree. I guess I won't know until it happens to me, but it doesn't sound like Andrew had anything for us. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. Oh, I think this is someone I tried to bring up earlier, but maybe they didn't connect. Hi, Jaden. How old are you?
I'm 14, but kind of.
Yeah, started sounding real young there. All right. Okay. So again, make sure that you are an adult and you have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Hi, Moon. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Do you believe in a God?
Yes, sir.
Cool. And which God do you believe in?
The God of the Bible, so Christian.
Cool. And then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Well, there's many things, but I would start off this conversation by bringing up like the issue of something like things being true and things being false. Like without a God, nothing's really true or false.
Why is that?
Or like I'm more speaking like a moral sense, but like
okay, so you're trying to give the moral argument for God that if objective morals exist, then God exists?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also I'm kind of trying to portray that like if like we all just exist like physically like through I don't know how to say it like the best, but like I'll just stick with morality because it's a pretty complex argument, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, the issue I think with the moral argument, and again, I just want to make sure that I'm not strawmanning you or misrepresenting your position or anything, but typically the version of the moral argument that I'm familiar with people giving is if objective moral facts exist, then God exists. Objective moral facts exist, therefore God exists. Is that an accurate representation of what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So the issue with that, the response that I always give is what I have been calling the Linford dilemma. Maybe I should stop calling it that. But there's a philosopher named Dan Linford who pointed out that this argument is self-defeating because any way you try to support the premise that objective morals exist will ruin this argument. Because you could say that objective morals exist and you could try to demonstrate that without referring to God. But the problem with that is then you would be demonstrating that it is possible for objective morals to exist without God, which means that you've ruined the first premise of the argument and the argument fails. Or you could try to demonstrate objective morals exist by, with a reference to God, but then your argument becomes circular. Because right now the argument is God exists because objective morals exist, but if you say objective morals exist because God exists, well, now your argument is just God exists because God exists, and I can say God doesn't exist because God doesn't exist, and then now we're on the same footing.
Well, that kind of makes sense, but I mean, I believe that, yeah, morality is absolute and it comes from a God. So what were you saying was the problem with that argument?
Yeah, so I'm saying that you could say that morals come from God. You just can't use that as part of an argument for God because you have to assume God exists in order to talk about morals coming from God. So if you try to do that inside an argument for God, then you make the argument circular.
Well, do you believe that morals are objective?
I do.
Okay, so how would it be, how would it be truly objective without a higher power? Whether
Yeah,
it be
sure. What's the argument that I want to give? Let's go with this one. I'm going to just say that I'm a reflective agent. What that means is that I not only am an agent who takes actions to achieve goals, but I have reflective intellect where I can, think about my goals, think about my actions, that kind of thing. So I'm a reflective agent. That's what I mean by that. If I'm a reflective agent, then my ultimate goal in my life is eudaimonia. I think every reflective agent, yourself, and all the people who are watching this, I think all of us have the same goal of eudaimonia. And what eudaimonia means is not just living a good life, but living a good life that at the end of your life you can reflect on and accurately evaluate as having been a good life. So I think we all have that goal as reflective agents. But if my goal is eudaimonia, then I have reasons to act in accordance with virtue, because virtue is what's going to maximize the odds. Being virtuous is what will maximize the probability of me getting to the end of my life and being able to accurately reflect on it and determine and evaluate that I had a good life. But if I have a reason to do something, that means that I ought do it. Those are the same thing. So what we can say is that just because I'm a reflective agent, I have an objective reason I ought act in accordance with virtue. But if I can say that my reflective agency is enough to give me reasons to act in accordance with virtue, that must mean that all agents ought act in accordance with virtue. So that means that we would conclude all reflective agents ought act in accordance with virtue, and that's what we would call morality, acting virtuously.
Okay, well, like from what I heard, I feel like there's a few problems with that. Like the first being, there's like it's kind of, I don't know if circular is the right word, but you mentioned eudaimonia. Is that just like the true good?
No, I'm saying that I think that it's objectively true that every reflective agent is striving for that end.
And eudaimonia was what? Just good? Like that? Like what is that? What
No,
is
eudaimonia is living a good life that you can accurately, reliably, and evaluate as having been a good life.
Okay, but that also leads to the problem. Like, what would be good then? Like, if there's no absolute morality, then the good that you're striving for doesn't exist outside of the system.
Yeah, I'm not saying morally good. I'm saying a life that you can be satisfied with, a life that you can be happy about, a life that at the end of your life you can accurately reflect on and say, you know what, I can be proud of the life that I've lived. I think we're all striving for that. No one wants to get to the end of their life and have a bunch of regrets, be sad that they were, like mean to their mom, be sad that they kicked a dog one time. Nobody wants to get to the end of their life and realize that they don't have any friends because they drove everybody away by being an asshole. Like we all want to get to the end of our life, be surrounded by our loved ones, and be able to look back on our life and accurately assess it as having been a life that we can be happy with. That's what I mean by eudaimonia.
But different people have different goals, so
I agree. Yes. But every goal, the ultimate, so like let's say that you pick any goal you have, or like myself, I have the goal, I don't know. I want to go back to school. I want to go back and go get a college degree because I currently don't have one, right? That's a goal that I have. Well, if I have that goal, why do I have that goal? And if we said, where does that goal come from, or what's my reason for that goal, and we try to keep digging deeper and deeper, at the end of it, we're going to find out that the reason that I want that is because I want a fulfilling life that at the end of my life I can look back on and be proud of. The reason I want to go back to college, the reason that I want to do the things that I do, the reason I want to spend time with my family and my friends is because I want eudaimonia. That's the underlying reason that gives me reasons for everything else. But because you're right, my eudaimonia is going to look different from your eudaimonia. That doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be, striving to go to college right now. Maybe that isn't what your eudaimonia looks like. Maybe eudaimonia for you is becoming a race car driver or becoming a pilot or, I don't know, being a surfer. I have no idea. But whatever your goal is, that like the things that you on the surface want to do, if you investigate internally where those goals come from, you'll find that at the bottom, what you're really trying to do is create a good life for yourself. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying everyone has the exact same goal. If it was required for this to work that everyone had the same goal, then it would just be subjective. Then it wouldn't be objective.
Well, I feel like a bad person could look back in their life and think that they lived a good life, but
they could think that, but they wouldn't be able to accurately evaluate that, which means it wouldn't be eudaimonia. If you like, for example, the virtue of justice, if you don't treat like cases alike, then you aren't able to, you're not a fair evaluator of cases. If you're not a fair evaluator of cases, you're not a fair evaluator of humans. If you're not a fair evaluator of humans, then you couldn't possibly fairly evaluate yourself or your own life. If you don't have the ability to fairly evaluate your life, then certainly you can't live a life that you, at the end, fairly evaluate as having been a good life.
Okay, but like, what system are you using to compare? Like, because you said that person would be wrong, that they can't accurately depict that they were living a good life. What system are you using to compare?
Logic.
Logic? How so?
Yeah, because we would just say, is there a contradiction in that person's view? And yes, if they're trying to say that they do have the ability to fairly evaluate things, but then we look and we see that they don't exercise fair evaluations, they don't, have the ability to fairly evaluate things, then we would say we can tell that you don't have the capacity to do this. And now maybe realistically, you and I wouldn't actually be able to tell who can fairly evaluate things and who can't, but each person would be able to tell for themselves if they gave an honest reflection. And now maybe there are people who would never be able to know because they're not fair evaluators of themselves. They would never be able to notice that they haven't lived a good life, but that doesn't mean that they haven't, that they did actually live a good life just because they think they did. It's in the same way that, like, just because if you're in history class and some kid raises their hand and says that the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1492 when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, that doesn't, you just know that they're wrong. And that kid may not realize that they're wrong because they really remember that thing about Columbus and the ocean blue, so they really think that they're right. It doesn't matter whether you can convince them that they're wrong or not, they're wrong. Objectively.
Okay, I'm kind of having a hard time understanding. You're just saying, like, a good life is at the end of your life looking back and saying that you have a good life?
Being able to fairly evaluate your life as having been a good life, yes.
So would one person's good be different than the other?
Yes. Like we talked about, like as an example, I want to go back to college. I want to, play music. There's a bunch of things that I want to do in my life. You might not be interested in those things at all. You might want to go maybe you want to go to trade school and spend your life as a race car mechanic. Fantastic. It may be that you get to the end of your life and say, man, I'm so happy that I spent all that time fixing race cars because that really fulfilled me and gave me the life that I wanted, and I'm whatever, like, that's great. I don't want that. I don't want to fix race cars. You know what I mean? So it is going to be different for different people. So I'm not saying that because like I said before, if everyone had to have the same goal, then this would be subjective.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to do some research on how to refute this and then come
back. Yeah, the term is eudaimonia, and I'll go ahead and I'll throw it up here.
What's it? It's the reflective agent theory. Eudaimonia and reflect.
Yeah, so that's the word. I think Aristotle came up with it.
Okay.
I am not describing hobbies as morals, Greenball.
Okay, well, thank you for having the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one. I'm not describing hobbies as morals. I'm saying that different people have different individual goals. But the ultimate underlying goal for all reflective agents is going to be eudaimonia. No, fixing race cars could be a vocation. I'm just saying what your surface Jesus Christ, what your surface goals are irrelevant. That was my point. Like, what you are going to evaluate as having been a good life for yourself is not the same as what I'm going to evaluate as having been a good life for me, even if we're both perfectly virtuous agents. I'm super glad to have you here, Tree. I don't know what you are asking, Hampter. I feel like I'm missing stuff, but I have no idea. Do we just oh, damn, I can't do that here? That's annoying. Maybe I can do it here? We're gonna just, TikTok Studio is so annoying sometimes. We're going to slap one of those on there. Okay, all right. I'll get back to it. But yeah, we're all reflective agents, right? The vast majority of humans are reflective agents. But I don't expect you all to like agree with that view. I'm just saying that is a way to get to objective morality, and it doesn't involve a god. Okay, so if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a god. No, reflective agent doesn't mean objective morality. I'm saying that because being a reflective agent entails obligations for how we should behave, that is the grounding for morality. And because it's an objective truth, it's an objective truth maker for moral claims. That means that morality is objective when grounded in reflective agency or agency itself even. But anyway, I will move on to the next person. Maybe Major is not going to connect. I think the vast majority of humans, at least those without, like significant cognitive delays, are able to reflect. Basically, a reflective agent is a moral agent. All right. Hi, Jonathan. How old are you?
Well, I just sort of had a question because I found like a.
So how old are you?
I'm. Okay, well, technically I'm 16, but wouldn't you?
Okay. All right. So this seems to be like throwing everybody for a loop here, and I wasn't trying to cause problems for anybody, but this is the argument that I was giving. So I'm a reflective agent. That just means that I have the ability to, I'm self-aware essentially, right? Like I have the ability to reflect on my goals and my actions. If I'm a reflective agent, then my goal is eudaimonia. I think anyone who has the ability to reflect on their actions and their goals wants that ultimate outcome. There are different paths to eudaimonia, but that's the ultimate goal that I think we can demonstrate that every reflective agent is shooting for. If my goal is eudaimonia, then I have reason to act in accordance with virtue, right? Because virtue, if I want eudaimonia, then I have reasons to do things that would help me achieve eudaimonia. And being virtuous is the best path, the most likely path to achieving eudaimonia. So that means I have reason to act in accordance with virtue. If I have reason to do something, then I ought do it. So what that means is we can safely conclude that I ought act in accordance with virtue. I have a reason, therefore an ought, to act in accordance with virtue. If my reflective agency is sufficient to entail that I ought act in accordance with virtue, then all reflective agents ought act in accordance with virtue, right? Because that means reflective agency itself is sufficient for a reason to act in accordance with virtue. And so then the final conclusion would be that all reflective agents ought act in accordance with virtue. Yeah, I can definitely understand having issues with 3. I think that that's probably the premise here that has the most conceptual density, right? So I definitely don't expect. That's not true, Hampter. It's not true that suicidal people don't care about eudaimonia. That I don't think that's true at all. As someone who has dealt with depression basically my entire life and tried to kill myself multiple times, I can tell you that there was never a point in that depression where I didn't want to live a good life. There was never a point when I was depressed and suicidal that I didn't want eudaimonia. So I disagree with you based on my own experience. Yeah, that's true, Tree. Tree is a very good point. Agency-based morality does not have to be virtue ethics-based. I'm giving this argument because I believe in virtue ethics, and if I'm going to give an argument, I want it to be for the thing that I actually believe in. Well, Kant, yeah, if you have like a developmentally delayed person or like a mentally disabled person who isn't able to reflect, then they just wouldn't be a moral agent. There are different arguments that I think would show that they're moral patients, but that's a different thing. Just like dogs are moral patients, but they're not moral agents. We like dogs don't have moral responsibility because they aren't reflective agents. And in the same way, you know, like a person with severe mental delays or mental disabilities, if they aren't able to reflect, then we wouldn't hold them morally responsible for their actions, right? Like I used to work in group homes with disabled adults, extremely rewarding work, other than like the administrative bullshit side of it. But that was amazing work. And I did work with a lot of people who, you know, individuals who lived in the group homes I was working in, who, you know, maybe wouldn't have qualified as reflective agents, and we wouldn't consider them morally responsible. And that's why they got away with a lot of things. Like, and I don't mean got away with as in they were like scamming the system. I just mean like they did things that I would never do. You know what I mean? And I would never expect to be able to do, and like and not be considered bad for doing it. But nobody considered them bad for doing it because we knew that they didn't have the capacity to understand what they were doing could have been considered wrong. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, they couldn't help it. Exactly, Midnight Zoomies. They were still like I don't know how to say this. Like they were still like valuable. You know what I mean? Just because they were like developmentally delayed or maybe weren't reflective moral agents, whatever, that doesn't mean that they didn't have value. They definitely did. Actually, honestly, some of the people that I met some of the individuals that I supported, you know, did support work for, I think like there's some amazing people that genuinely, one of the things, or probably the thing I miss the most about that work is those individuals that I got to work with. I just do not miss the administrative stuff. Sober, I don't like the sound of that. I don't like the sound of that at all. Kant, I think that you could find reflective agents who would say they don't care about eudaimonia, but I don't think that you could find one that actually doesn't ultimately have that goal. I'd be open to being shown that I'm wrong, but also the issue with my argument, right, is that it is very dense, right? Like I understand it's extremely dense, and I don't expect like just running at one time to convert a bunch of people to, you know, think that there's an objective foundation for virtue ethics. I don't agree, Sober, but I don't know. Maybe we can chat about it sometime. Okay. Well, we're not getting any requests or anything. So I am actually going to reset the TikTok here. So give me a quick sec, and I will reset that and be right back. Presumably, I will. Okay, stop that. Do one of those and one of these. Okay. Should be back on the TikToks. Oh, I forgot to. I'm not very good at this whole running a live thing. Okay. Back, indeed. Your first Rust Bucket. Thank you. I was just trying to do something and then I forgot what it was. I just don't think so, Sober. I think it becomes a divine psychology problem. Rust Bucket, what are you doing to me? Is this not going to tell me what I want to know? Oh, maybe. Fair enough. All right. I have returned, Tree. I have returned. Thank you, everybody, for the likes and the shares. Oh, just immediate support from everybody. Thank you so much. Green Ball, Nobody on Fire, Inanis. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, Sober. I think that you're going to have a problem saying why God would want the constants the way that they are. Like you'd have to have a way to demonstrate that. Okay. Oh yeah, I want to do. Oh, shit. I'm going to do one of those. Okay. All right. Permissibility for life. Yeah, but then you have to demonstrate why the God would need these constants for life. I don't think that you can give a reason for that. I don't think anybody can give a reason for that. Because if God is like the typical, like infinite God, like all powerful, all knowing, whatever, then God could make life with any set of constants. So you have no reason to expect these constants. So then through the principle of indifference, you would say since any set of physical constants, since God could make life with any set of physical constants, you would say the probability of any particular physical constant is even. There's like going to be like a nearly infinite number of infinite of ways the constants could have been. Let's say it's a large but finite number. Well, then you're going to distribute the probability evenly amongst all of those possibilities. There are going to be more non-finely tuned ways the universe could have been that God could create life than finely tuned ones, which means it's less likely under theism to have apparently fine-tuned constants than non-fine-tuned constants. Therefore, finding fine-tuned constants is not only not evidence for God, I think it's probably evidence against God. Gain advantage of be distributed infinitely throughout the options. No, I don't think you would gain an advantage. Hey, Radio Spencer. Thanks for being here, and thank you for the support. I'm dodging your request, Eli, because you were up here earlier tonight and you had nothing, and I'm not going to talk to the same people over and over again. It's not worth my time, and it's not worth anybody else's time. So what I'm hoping for is people who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. So if you are an adult and you have some kind of argument or evidence for God, feel free to request up. I'd be happy to chat with you. We're going to go ahead and do one of those. I don't know that there are any other possibilities, Hadrian. Okay. What time do I usually go live? At the latest, I'll go live at 8 p.m. Central, but lately I've been going live more at like 7 p.m. Central. I typically go till about 10 p.m. Central. Well, looked like somebody was requesting, but then they left before I could get to it. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some folks who actually do want to have the conversation. Yeah, like I said before, just looking for folks who are adults who have some kind of argument or evidence that would justify believing in a God. Yep, Ogar, that's me. Oh, also, why doesn't everybody go subscribe to my YouTube and maybe even join the Discord, right? But yeah, we'll see if we can have a good conversation. Hopefully folks who are 18 plus and actually have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Ogar's the best Gar? I don't know. There's some cool Gars out there. Hi, Mason. How old are you?
I am 32.
And do you believe in a God?
In a way.
Well,
I am more to just kind of stimulate a conversation more than anything else.
Well, I don't really want to do like devil's advocate or anything like that. So I guess I'm just looking for folks who actually do believe that a God exists.
Well, let me put it this way. I do believe in a God, but it's not the Western representation of God that fits into most Western theologies.
Sure. Do you believe in like an immaterial mind that created and sustains the universe?
That's, I guess, a way that you could put it. The way that I look at it is that we live in dualistic reality.
You mean substance dualism?
it's the basis of any phenomena. The phenomena of soft creates the phenomena of hard. The
Well,
idea of
I'm just trying to get clarity on what you mean by dual. What's the dualism? What kind of dualism?
duality just means that nothing is independent, exists of its own independent right. So everything is
well, if you don't think
dependent
that, if you don't think that there's anything independent, then you don't believe in something that would qualify for what I'm talking about as God, and so then we're just talking past each other.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, hey, I mean, I appreciate you being honest. I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just not exactly what the live is, but I wish you the best, and I hope you have a good rest of your night. All right. Hi, Rebus. How old are you?
Hey, what's going on, man? I am 22.
Okay. And then, what God do you believe in?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
Okay. Can you do anything
And
about the echo?
What was that? I'm sorry. Yeah, I can.
I'm not sure if it made a difference, but I guess we'll see.
Hello?
It seems like it's okay. Okay. So what would you say is the
I am
best
driving
argument
right
or
now. I am
evidence?
driving right now.
Oh, okay. Well, then I got to drop you anyway. All right. Okay. Yeah, don't live and drive. This one is okay. Whatever. All right. So yeah, if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're an adult and you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide actual rational justification to believe in God. No, if I missed my hair, I would grow it back out. Yeah, that sounds great, Rebus. Please do join back when you're at home. I would definitely. I mean, I'm happy to talk to you. Yeah, I got sick of having hair. That's why I shaved it off. Hi, Milk. How old are you? Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Hair is a lot of work. Also, like, getting it cut all the time was so annoying. Now all I have to do is just take my little skull shaver thing and and it's done, right? Yes. Okay, we're going to do one of these. Okay, so if you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in God, feel free to request up. Matt Dillahunty respects me. Matt Dillahunty has no idea who I am. Matt Dillahunty has never heard of me. Yeah, Matt Dillahunty has no idea who I am. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Greenball, Radio Spencer, Inanis, Nobody on Fire, thank you. Well, I would assume if you're in the live, you probably have heard of me. Yeah, currently don't have anybody requesting. If any of you are adults who believe in God and think you have some kind of argument or evidence for God, I'd be happy to chat. Okay, maybe we can have a good convo. We'll see. Hi, Royce. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 28.
Which God you believe in?
Christian God.
Have we talked before?
Yeah, but I have a question, like a quick question for you, if you don't mind. Something that's really been eating away at me.
Okay.
Okay. There has to be white people that are born in India that were born and raised there, right?
I don't know.
Well, there has to be like a white person that was born and raised in India.
It seems likely. Is it relevant?
Yeah, sure. So, well, it is. It's conceptually relevant. So, like, it would necessarily follow that that person would have an Indian accent, but I've never seen a white person ever with an Indian accent, a natural one, on the internet, anywhere. Show me
what does
one.
this have to do with anything?
Well, it doesn't. I'm just, it's something I've been thinking about.
Okay. Oh, TikTok, why are you so dumb? Whatever. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. Yeah, Catholic thinker, that seemed racist to me for sure. Hi, Sin, how old are you? Fair enough. Hi, Nad, how old are you? Yeah, that's about what I figured. Yeah, I agree, Mikey. Hi, Wendigo, how old are you?
I'm 21. How are you doing, boss?
Doing just fine. You do not sound 21. What God do you believe in?
Probably the Tao.
Okay, well, that's not a God. At least not in the concept that I'm using. I'm talking about like a, mind that created and sustains the universe. Do you believe in anything like that?
I think it's electricity.
Okay. Well, it just sounds like we're not talking about the same thing. And I'm not saying that you can't use the word God the way you want. It's just not what I'm talking about here. So then all we would be doing is talking past each other, trying to, have a debate about what words mean. And that's not interesting to me, you, or anybody else.
So you mean like an objective, like Father, God, and you want people to say that's real, and then that's the argument?
No, but I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good one. All right, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Jihad, how old are you?
You're so ugly and fat.
Yeah, I realized as soon as I said that out loud that was going to be bad. My bad. Yeah. Okay. Hi, DLC, how old are you?
How's it going, man? 31.
Okay, do you believe in a God?
Yeah, so I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I didn't always think this, by the way, so this is exciting to be able to conversate with you about this.
Okay, and then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Well, again, I guess I would be speaking from a witness standpoint. I can't provide proof beyond my anecdotal
Okay, well,
evidence
anecdotal.
and life experience.
Wait, hold on. Are you driving?
No.
Okay, then why is the blinker going?
Give me 1 second. There you go. I just made it to my spot, and it's funny because I saw the don't live and drive, and I was trying to make it right as I parked.
So I don't really care about personal experience. If you want to talk about personal experience, the first thing that you would need to do is tell me how we can determine who is accurately interpreting their personal experiences and who isn't.
Right. Well, like I said, I used to be an atheist. I was an atheist for 3 years.
Okay, but this is irrelevant. Yeah, I need you to just answer the question.
Okay, well, you can't hold a atheistic worldview without.
Can you please answer the question?
Ask the question one more time.
Yeah. How would you determine who is accurately interpreting their personal experiences and who isn't?
Well, I'm hoping that you could, I guess, for the sake of the argument.
No, I don't know of a way to do that. You would need to know of a way to do that in order for personal experience to be compelling evidence for your view. And you said that personal experience is at least part of the evidence for your view. So you must have a way of determining who is and who is not accurately interpreting their personal experiences. So how do you do that?
Right. Well, you can't, I guess. So you're...
Okay. Well, I've asked you now 3 times how to do this, and you're saying that you don't have a way to do it. So obviously we don't have enough information so that we could talk about personal experience. So do you have anything else?
Thank you, Ogar. Appreciate your time.
And you're driving again. Okay. No, you liar. personal experience. All right. So yeah, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. Hi, Houston. Oh, gone anyway. Fair enough. Yeah, lying for Jesus. Truth, Zachary. I'm searching for truth. Hi, Rebus.
Hey, what's going on, dude? All right, I'm parked now. I'm all good.
Okay.
Pinky swear, by the way. Hold on, because I know the last guy lied to you. Hold on a second. Let me. As you can see.
Oh, well, yeah, I appreciate it. I'm
yeah.
super not stoked about people turning their cameras on typically, but I appreciate you being honest and showing your honesty.
Do you mean to turn my camera off?
I would prefer it just because I've had issues. I've just had issues in the
Okay.
past. Oh, you're good. Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right. So what would you say is the best argument or evidence for God?
I believe if you just take a step and look at everything around you, look at how you as a human are built, everything is
just assume that I've looked at all of this stuff.
Everything is where
Just
it needs to be.
Okay, Rebus, assume that I've looked at all this and
Yeah,
concluded that there is no God.
Ogar, why? Okay, I got you. So, Ogar, is that your reasoning for not believing?
No.
Because I'm not one to push beliefs on anybody whatsoever. I just want to know more or less what have you done to
This is irrelevant.
find
I just
your
need you to
opinion?
give some kind of argument or evidence for God, please.
I will, but you
Okay,
have God
fantastic.
isn't
What
real,
is it?
Prove me wrong.
Yep. So give the argument or the evidence that would demonstrate God exists.
I got you, Ogar. I got you. Do you know that if
Okay, so you should not be
gravity
asking me
and the
questions.
Earth... Okay, I got you. Calm down. I got you. So, do you know that
Okay,
gravity...
so that's a question.
If it was slightly...
That's a question.
It's a statement.
No, you're saying, do you know?
Okay,
I don't want to do you
How
know.
about
I
this?
want
How
you to
about this? How
list
about this?
I want you to list the points that will logically get us to God exists.
Okay. If gravity was slightly more or slightly less
I mean,
than
this
what
is
it
just false.
now,
I mean, this is just false.
it is not.
Yes, it is. Gravity
not.
could be stronger and it could be weaker. We also don't know how much stronger it's possible for gravity to be or how much weaker it's possible for gravity to be. We could be a significant different distance from the sun and be fine. Like all of these like stupid talking points. Number one, even if things could be different in those ways, it wouldn't actually matter as much as you pretend that it does. And then also we have no idea if things actually could be different in that way, so it's irrelevant anyway.
Because it is perfect where it is.
So how did you determine
as a human
that gravity could have been different?
You said list off points.
How did you determine? Yeah, the gravity thing only matters if you've been able to determine that it could have been different. Because if it couldn't have been different, then it's not unlikely for it to be this way. So how did you determine that it could have been different? Oh.
Hold on, you got music playing.
Yeah. I thought I turned that shit off.
Is that like a gift or something?
Yeah, it's fucking... it's a new thing that TikTok started, and I fucking turned it off, and then it worked anyway.
Gotcha.
So fucking annoying.
Anyways. It seems pretty annoying.
Anyway, again, what you need to be able to
Yes.
do is demonstrate that gravity could have been different. So how do you demonstrate that gravity could have been different?
Well, the universe is absolutely gigantic. Planets are set in stone.
No, we're not talking about the size of the universe. We're not talking. No, we're not.
It is genuinely where we are
Rebus,
stationed
Rebus. This is not relevant. I'm asking, how could you determine that when the at the big, because basically what you would have to say is that when the Big Bang happened, gravity could have been a bunch of different values, and it ended up this perfect value for the way that things are. So you need to tell me how you determined that gravity could have been a bunch of different values.
I'm not a science expert, but I can go on to another point that I have.
Okay.
How about that? Is that good?
That sounds great.
Okay. I would also argue how everything is made, human biology, and I'm talking about you, right? You, for example. The eyes, number one.
Okay, well, we
the
know how
way
all of
that
this stuff
you are-
evolved. We know exactly how evolution produces these things. It's not a mystery. It's not something that we need an explanation for. We already have perfectly fine natural explanations without any need for a god. So, in fact, it would be unparsimonious of us to add a god to the theory because it wouldn't add any explanatory power. Because so if we can explain this completely 100% without appealing
Yes,
to a
but
god,
you
why
cannot-
would we add a god to the explanation?
You cannot tell me, right, that everything that you see around you, nature, the earth, the human biology, was not created by an artist.
Everything
because it
around
is
me, nature, the earth, human biology, was not created by an artist. See, I can tell you that.
right, but I cannot believe you.
Okay, well, I can't believe you that you would actually give this dumb of an argument. So where now?
So
what?
why do you believe that God isn't real?
Because
that could help me with a point. Tell me.
no, if your argument relies on my reasons for not believing in God, then you don't have an argument. Like if you did so, the only way that
But
my
we can-
reasons.
we can-
Hold
we
on,
can have
Rebus.
a
Hold on.
conversation about
Hold
it.
on.
We can have a conversation about it.
Were you thinking about my reasons for not believing in God when you decided, or when you became convinced of God? Were you thinking about my reasons for not believing in God when you became convinced of God?
No, I was not.
Yeah, exactly. So what we know now, what we've confirmed and we both agree with, is that my reasons for not believing in God actually have nothing to do with why you do believe in God. So let's talk about, instead of irrelevant stuff like my reasons for not believing in God, let's talk about something that's relevant, like a reason to believe in God.
So I would say absolutely, yes, I can give you countless reasons, and not like
I'd like just one,
reasons,
please.
because I know you're against that.
Yep, I'd like just
I
one,
know
please.
you're against that, right?
Just one reason, please.
But I want to know
Just
what
one reason,
happened
please.
to you. I've given you two reasons.
Well, you haven't given
but-
any yet. So far, you've given things that everybody can tell aren't actually reasons to believe, and then you tried to pivot onto my beliefs. If you want to just give up and let me give an argument against God, we can do that. But I'm not going to play the game.
So, well, I want you to give me an argument on why you don't believe. Everyone else is hopping on here trolling
So
you,
we'll
right?
just yeah,
Let's
no, that's
have
no problem.
a conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy. I just
have a-
offered to give an
let's-
argument. If you want me to give an argument, I'll give an argument. That's not a problem.
Okay.
So, what's a good one that I like? So you said you believe in the Christian God. I assume you believe that God is perfect.
I believe God is all good. Yes.
Right, but do you believe in perfect being theism? Like he is the ultimate perfect being, like everything about him is perfect or whatever? That's a typical Christian view, but I can give a different argument if that's not something you hold to.
Yeah, I would say give me a different argument.
Okay, fair enough. So I'll just give an easy one. Obviously God has knowledge, right?
Correct.
Okay, so God has a mind. Minds either have a series of changing mental states or only one unchanging mental state. But because God's the creator of the universe, he must be outside the universe, which means he's outside of time. But change can only happen inside time, so that means that God's mental state can never change. He only ever has one unchanging mental state. The problem comes in with the fact that acting on your will requires at least one change of your mental state. You have to go from the mental state, I intend to do X, to the mental state, I have completed my will to do X. Since God's mental states can't change, and acting on your will requires your mental states to change, God cannot act on his will. But if God can't act on his will, then that means he can't create the universe. However, if God exists, he did create the universe, so therefore, by the power of modus tollens, God does not exist.
I think you are mixing God with a human being.
Nope.
In a way, God is above.
What did I say
'cause
that was?
as-
What did I
as
say that was human?
You got fucking mind, thinking.
You don't think
all
that God has a
stuff,
mind?
right? I believe God.
So you don't think God has a mind?
I believe God.
Does God have a mind?
Let me answer.
It's a yes or no answer.
I'm going to let me answer.
No,
'cause
if
right
you
now
cannot
what you're
answer
doing-
a direct
No, no,
question
so you're doing
directly,
a great tactic right now.
if you can't
but
answer
I
a
can-
direct
okay,
question,
I'm gonna get into my full fucking sales experience right now, so I'm gonna
all
continue.
right, fair enough. Asks for an argument, then refuses to engage with the argument. I don't really know what to do with that. All right, so if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God.
Hello.
Hi, how old are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How old are you?
Oh, my bad. I'm 18.
And what God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Got you. Okay, so look. So there's this thing, right? And it's called the Shroud of Turin. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or
Yes,
not.
I'm aware of the fraudulent rag of Turin, yes.
Fraudulent. Okay.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
when it was first presented back in the 1300s, the anti-pope even said, "I know that this is a fraud." Okay, so you don't want to have a serious conversation?
I'm trying to talk.
Yeah, and I was explaining to you why it's not worth talking about the fraud of Turin.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, because back when it was first presented, it
Mhm.
was known back then to be an artist rendering. That's why the anti-pope said this isn't a real artifact, but we can like put it up, as like an artist rendering. It was known, it has been known to be, a painting essentially, ever since it was first presented by the artist. So it is
False.
not a real
And
thing.
I'm going to tell you why. So pretty much that's what they thought at first. But
So you're
one day
telling me
there's-
that the
please stop
anti-pope,
talking, please stop
you're telling me
talking,
that the
please stop talking,
anti-pope,
please
who was
stop
the
talking,
head of
please
the
stop
Catholic
talking.
Church at the
So pretty
time,
much what happened-
didn't
pretty
know
much
what he was talking
there's a
about? You're telling me that the Pope
there's
was
a
wrong?
scientist who had a picture of it.
So you're telling me
And
that the Pope who
please
knew
stop
about it
talking.
back at the time was wrong? That's what you're telling me?
They were wrong. They were false about that.
So what you're saying is that you don't trust church leaders.
No, different denominations are like, no, I don't believe in the Pope. No, I'm an Orthodoxy Christian or Catholic. Pardon.
Uh-huh.
So, no. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Though.
Just going to reject all the information that we have from when it was created?
Gang, bro, there's more evidence. There's more like actual textual evidence of Jesus Christ being alive than Alexander.
We're
the
not talking
Great.
about Jesus
Yet we
Christ
believe
being
in him.
alive.
Jesus Christ is God.
So the problem here, is that even the fabric that the shroud is made out of? Oh, he just ran away. Yeah. Like even the fabric that the shroud is made out of didn't exist. That type of fabric didn't even exist. When Jesus was alive or died, whatever. Yeah, fair enough, Greenball. All right, so if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. One of the other things is the shape of the face on the shroud. Like it's obviously just like a painting of a face or what it would look like if you were looking at it. If it was something that had actually lain across his face, when you flattened it out, you know what I'm saying? It would look wide. It would look weird and distorted. But it doesn't because it's a painting. Hi, Jose. How old are you?
I am 18.
And do you believe in a God?
Yes, I do.
Cool.
Oh,
which
by
God?
the way, nice. I love your. By the way, I love your shirt.
Thank you. Which God do you believe in?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
And then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in God?
The beginning of the universe.
Why should we think that the universe had a beginning?
The reason why it's been scientifically proven that the beginning that the universe did have a beginning. It wasn't always all there.
How was that demonstrated?
I don't remember. I don't remember exactly which study it was from, to be honest.
Well, as far as I know, the current scientific position is that we don't have a reason to think the universe had a beginning, because the closest that we can come to anything that resembles a beginning would be the Big Bang. But the current position among physicists and cosmologists seems to be that the Big Bang doesn't give us any reason to think that that was when the universe began. So, as far as I can tell, we don't have scientific reason to think the universe began. So, is there any other reason to think the universe began?
The Big Bang, because I don't believe that.
Well, I just explained to you that okay. So a couple studies were done, or excuse me, not studies. I say that wrong all the time, and I apologize. A couple surveys were done of physicists and cosmologists. So there was one done a couple years ago that was at a conference in Copenhagen.
You're basing your evidence on surveys?
Yeah, we're talking about what the scientific position is on the Big Bang, right? You're talking about here's what science tells us from the theory of the Big Bang. And what I'm telling you is that you're wrong about what science says about the Big Bang. And the way that I'm telling you that is by saying that when we survey the people who professionally look into this and develop these theories and ask them, what should we think? What should we take away from the Big Bang? What they tell us, by overwhelming majority, 68% in this survey of thousands of respondents, the Big Bang is a theory that says the universe evolves from a hot, dense state, that says nothing about whether there was an absolute beginning of time or not. So we should not be using the Big Bang to support an infinite universe, and we should not be using it to support a finite universe, because it doesn't give us any information either way. It's not evidence for either position. So since the Big Bang doesn't give us any reason to think the universe had a beginning, what is the reason to think the universe had a beginning?
Well, I'll give you another example. Like, there's no reason to believe in the Big Bang, because how are you going to believe that life came out of non-life?
Okay, so you also don't believe in the Big Bang. You also don't think the Big Bang gives evidence for a beginning of the universe. So what is the evidence for the universe having a beginning?
God, obviously, when it starts with Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth.
Yep, that's the claim. What's the evidence for that claim?
There's no evidence. Well, I don't think there's any evidence for the Big Bang. I'm not going to pull things out.
I'm not talking about the Big Bang. We already said the Big Bang is irrelevant to this conversation. So what's the evidence that the universe had a beginning?
I don't have any evidence.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that I do.
Yeah, well, and like you said, the only reason to believe in God is the beginning of the universe, and you don't have any evidence that the universe had a beginning, so I think we both agree there's no reason to believe in God. Well, thank you for the attempt, and I hope you have a good one. All right. Thank you so much for the support. Sober, Green Ball, Do Better, Hunter Striking, Lem. Thank you guys. All right. Holy shit, we made it over 3,900 followers. Thanks, everybody. That's fucking awesome. All right, let's make sure we're talking to adults who actually have some kind of argument or evidence. Hey, thanks, Philo Dragon. Fuck. I fucking love the dragon. The dragon's the shit, especially coming from a dragon. What's my bench? Do you mean like PR or current max? I don't know what it is right now. My PR is 325 pounds, not kilos. Right now, I don't know. My shoulder's fucked up, so I don't know if I would even want to bench heavy. I probably wouldn't want to bench more than like 265. I don't know if I would even do that right now, to be honest. Oof, 350 is nuts. Nah, not ripped. I'm fat as fuck. Anyway, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in God. Oh, thanks, Bertram, for the heart me. Appreciate it. Hi, Ashley. How old are you?
I am 26.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
Loosely the Christian God.
Fair
and
enough.
I didn't know if you'd be open to kind of just having a healthy kind of dialogue, or if it had to be a debate.
Well, oh, that was cool. Thanks, Bertram. I want to, I mean, I do want to make sure that we're focused on discussing whether or not there's reason to believe in God. Now, it doesn't have to be
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
combative. The only reason that it gets combative with some people is because they refuse to actually engage in the substance. If we're actually talking about the substance, then I won't interrupt you. I won't be rude. You know, I just match people's energy mostly. Um,
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
so yeah, what would you, from your perspective, what do you think would be a good reason to believe in God?
So I think that it's not necessarily a factual type of thing to believe in, and it gets really tricky, kind of back and forth with that. I would say personally, my argument would be kind of working in the hospice field and seeing other people's experience as they move through the dying experience. And I guess to be more specific with that, just kind of maybe seeing loved ones that haven't been there, expressing that they see angels and different loved ones that they have never known in their entire life, guiding them through that process. Um, I can't think of a reasonable explanation to have that happen if there is no God in general. I'm not saying it necessarily has to be a Christian God, but I think that there has to be something, someone more, not necessarily someone, I guess, but something more that created this whole kind of not world that we live in, because I think it's much larger than that, but the whole kind of existence of everything.
Well, my question is, because I mean, I'm aware that, you know, our brains do weird things when they're damaged, and obviously when your body is shutting down and you're in the process of, you know, you're in that end of life process. Of course, you know more about end of life processes than I do. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on that, but I know at least enough to know of, you know, the kinds of weird things that can happen. You know, when I was younger, my basically my entire young childhood, my grandma had cancer, and so that when it got really bad, we actually moved in with her so that my mom and my aunt could help take care of her. And so like I was there, like again, I haven't seen what you've seen. I have certainly don't have the depth or breadth of experience that you do, but just from that minimal experience, I remember she definitely got weird toward the end when things were really bad. And she would have these weird moments of like seeming lucidity, and then weird moments where like whatever. Anyway, you know the kinds of things that I'm talking about because you've seen it more than I have. But what I'm saying is
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see a reason to think that there has to be an explanation just outside of, you know, abnormal brain chemistry producing abnormal phenomenal experiences.
Yeah, and I think that that is absolutely plausible, and that's why I'm kind of in that middle ground. I you know, like I said, it's kind of a loose belief. Um, can I and I haven't really experienced necessarily someone that okay, well, I guess how am I trying to say this? Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I guess the way that, or what I'm talking about specifically would be someone that has, and like you said, it's very, you know, the brain is deteriorating at the very end. That is absolutely, um, absolutely positive. We have factual evidence about that. I believe in that part as well. The reason that has me kind of on the edge is just I've had patients that experience things that have never been talked about in their family. They were not even born yet at some point in time that this would have happened, have never, you know, heard this happen.
My issue with
So
this is that just because people don't remember having talked about something before doesn't mean the person hasn't heard it before. And it could just be that as the brain is in that shutdown process, or that, you know, even if it's not, you know, specifically a shutdown process, but at least it's going through abnormal chemistry and interactions. I don't see any reason why weird memories we wouldn't expect things like weird memories to be brought up that other people don't remember. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can think of times when, like, especially if you've ever been through like a traumatic event, like when I was a kid, I don't mean to make this all about me, but when I was a kid, I lived through a tornado, right? And I remember all these weird little details about that day. And then I haven't talked to my family about it very much, but when my mom turned 60, we all got together for the first time in a long time because we're kind of spread out. I have sisters that live, hundreds and hundreds of miles away. We don't see each other very often. So for my mom's 60th, we all got together. And since we were all in the same room for the first time in years, we talked about the tornado for the first time ever. Like, we had literally never talked about it until a few years ago. And, well, it's weird, but we all remember different things. And there are specific things that I remember about one of my sisters doing that she doesn't remember at all. And she remembers little things that I was involved in that I don't have any memory of whatsoever. There are lots of those little things that if you had asked me, did this thing happen that day? I would say no. And if it had, I would remember that. And then you talk to my sisters and, 3 of them remember it clearly. And then me and one of my other sisters or my mom, we don't remember it. It's just weird how memory is like that, right? And I don't like memory isn't
Absolutely, yeah.
memory isn't a video recorder, right? So we shouldn't expect that, like, a dying person has weird memories popping up in their brain and they're making references to things, and then other people who aren't going through that don't remember the random thing that just popped up in their head from 50 some years ago. Like, that's normal and to be expected for me, and I don't think that it's so unexpected that we should like start believing in supernatural things because of it.
Yeah, that is very fair. And like I said, I have no factual evidence because I think factual evidence completely negates the belief in any god. But just, I guess, my personal experience, even like I've had patients tell me about things that happened before they were even born, and their mother had died directly after. They had no idea.
Yeah,
Had
but
never
them
been
telling you these
shared.
things doesn't mean that they're real.
That's absolutely true. I have a hard time figuring out, and maybe you can help me with that actually. But hard time figuring out where those could have even originated.
They could just be hallucinations, or we could even just say we don't know where they came from, but they don't rise to the level of evidence that should make us believe in supernatural things. I think that would probably be my conclusion.
Yeah. Okay.
But I
Thank you.
appreciate you for just being open and honest, genuinely wanting to have the conversation, and being receptive to the feedback. And yeah, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a great rest of your evening.
Absolutely. You as well. Thank you
Thanks.
for having that conversation with me.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I like talking to nice people. Doesn't always have to be blood sports. All right. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Yeah, I mean, she didn't have a whole lot in terms of actual evidence for God, but hey, at least she was cool about it. Hello?
Hey, I'm gonna disconnect. I'm kind of busy right now.
Sounds good. That doesn't sound good, Tree. Hi, Colin. How old are you?
18.
Have we talked before?
Yeah, yesterday. Crackhead Peter Griffin.
Yeah, that's about what I expect. Oh, that's the guy who... Oh, okay. Well, and then he came back today to troll. Because he's sad that he got fucked rhetorically yesterday. We'll do one of these. That's simple enough. All right. Okay. So yeah, we currently don't have anybody requesting. So if you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God, feel free to request up. Yeah. Not too much going on. I don't know if there are any other I don't know, arguments. Oh, no, it's the same thing. There was an argument I was going to give earlier, because typically Christians will say that they believe in like a perfect God. The tree story you missed. Oh, Somebody just pulled a look at the trees, and so then we were just talking about trees. I think. I don't think it was anything more than that. But there's an argument I was trying to give earlier that I wasn't able to, because again, Christians typically believe that God, like perfect being theism, maybe not typically, but it is common. But there's an argument about imperfection, and that shows that God can't exist because, entailing imperfections is an imperfection. And if that's the case, then if a being is perfect, it can't entail imperfections. God is perfect, but God entails the universe, which is, God is perfect, supposed to be, but God entails the universe, which is imperfect. So God cannot entail perfections and can entail perfections. So God doesn't exist. And that was an argument I was trying to give earlier, and I don't think I've ever actually run it on stream before, so I was hoping to get some feedback on it. See if maybe it would, not work. Hard to know. Sometimes arguments seem really good, and then you run them one time and you realize, oh, no, they're not. Afterlife, I would just say it's the same as before we were born, just non-existence, right? I don't know any reason to think it's anything other than that. But yeah. I don't know. I don't remember what the argument was, but I remember one time I came up with this argument that I just absolutely loved. I thought it was so awesome. And then I ran it, and I was talking to somebody about it, and we thought it was decent, but he wasn't 100% sure about it, but I was super confident in it. And then I ran it in a live, and even though it seemed to go fine during the debate when I ran it, afterwards I was like, I am never running that argument again. I don't know. That happens sometimes. It seems like an argument's really good, and then you think that you've thought of everything, but then you explain it, or you try to give the argument to somebody, and you realize like, oh, this is actually trash. No, I don't think there's any reason to think consciousness exists after death. Sometimes hold doubts about my own views. Absolutely. I have tons and tons of doubts about a lot of my views. One of the things that I am constantly working on is trying to figure out the answers to the doubts about my views. But yeah, we'll see if we can have a real conversation here. Hopefully this is someone who's an adult and actually has some kind of argument or evidence. Oh, shit tree. Hi, Chips. How old are you?
I'm 18. Fucking God.
Yeah, that's about the best they've got, I think. I wonder. Maybe we can do one of those. That seems reasonable. Oh, thanks, J.R. Jer? I don't know. Thanks, Zachary. Yeah, Daniel, I'm never a fan of it myself. Hi, Flows. How are you?
How are you, man? You alright?
Doing okay.
Thank you for bringing me up, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, is there, I don't remember what God you believe in.
Oh, I'm a Christian, so I believe in the God of the Bible.
Fair enough. Do you have a specific argument or some evidence you want to discuss?
So today I would like to discuss the argument for, let me state the argument, I've forgotten the name, but it's like, if you can imagine the strongest, most powerful possible being, that would be God. It's better to exist in reality than to exist in imagination. Therefore, God exists. So it goes something like that.
Yeah. This is like Anselm's ontological argument.
Yes.
So
ontological argument.
The issue that I have with this is that I think that there's an issue here with understanding how word definitions work. We can't just say that we define, a certain thing in a certain way, and because its definition entails existence, that the thing must exist. What we would have to, the accurate way to look at it is just that if the word God is defined in that way, or the concept of God is defined in that way, the most that we could conclude is that in order for that concept or that word to apply to something, it would have to exist. But that doesn't mean necessarily something exists that term or that concept applies to. Does that make sense?
Sorry, could you repeat it? I was tracking, but at some point I got lost.
No problem. If I define the concept of Eunice the universe farting unicorn as an existing unicorn who farted out the universe, just because the definition includes that she's the greatest possible unicorn and that entails that she would exist, that doesn't mean that she definitely exists. That just means that she would have to exist in order for the term Eunice, the universe farting unicorn, to actually apply to something.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we're just
sorry,
saying
could
that.
you just repeat it one more time, so that I'm sure I get it 100 as much as I can. Don't mind me, I'm not as smart as you, man. I'm just trying to understand it as much as I can.
No problem. Basically, I agree that you can conceive of God as the greatest possible being, and I agree that it's possible to say that that conception requires existence as part of the definition. But I think the most we can say is just that if that definition applies to something, that thing has to exist. But it's not necessary that concept applies to something that does exist.
Oh, so you're saying that it might not be possible for a greatest possible being to exist, or God would not be the greatest possible being?
No, I'm saying that if the concept God applied to something, that thing would exist. But it may just be the case that there isn't an existing thing that concept applies to.
Oh, okay. So you're saying this thing might just be purely conceptual. It might not be like a real, like, ontological being. It might not be a being that is capable of existing.
Right. Well, I just mean that, like, I don't know about capable of existing. I'm just saying that it may not actually exist. And maybe that means it's not capable of existing. I don't know.
Oh, but if it's capable of it, would you say it's capable of existing?
Well, no, I don't think that there is an existing thing, or that there could be an existing thing that would fit the definition of God. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it exists. I'm just saying, would you agree that there's, in a possible world, in any possible world, it could exist?
I mean, maybe, depending on what you mean by possible worlds. I mean, I take a pretty I don't know. I don't even know the word that would mean. I take a maybe an unconventional view of what possible worlds are. I think what all a possible world is just an arrangement of all possible an arrangement of. Oh my God, I would say a possible world just means a logically consistent arrangement of the truth values for all possible propositions. I think that's all we're really talking about when we talk about a possible world. I don't think that we're talking about some other world that actually exists. And so, like, saying, does God exist in some possible world is just saying, is it possible to arrange the truth values of all propositions in a way where it's true that version of God exists and there are no logical contradictions entailed in the rest of the proposition's truth values? And I don't know, maybe that's possible, but I don't think that's like, I don't think that does a lot. I don't think that gets us very far.
Fair enough. Would you say it's better to exist in reality than to exist only conceptually?
No, I have no idea how we could. I have no idea how we could determine a metric to judge which is better.
So let's judge which is better by which can have more influence. So
Well,
something that exists
that's
in
assuming
reality can have
that's assuming
can
that
have influence.
Right, but that's assuming that that's better. And how did we determine that's better?
Okay, so what I would say is, better would be grounded in the nature of God if He exists. But then, let me just finish this point. Something existing physically would be able to exercise influence conceptually and within the physical universe. Would you agree to that? That something physical would be able to exercise influence conceptually and within the physical realm?
Are you saying it's epistemically possible that a physical thing could exert causal influence in the physical world?
Yes.
Yeah, that seems possible.
And in the conceptual world as well.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that they're like,
because
I don't know that we would say that
when-
all physical things necessarily are like conceptually causally efficacious. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I've never thought about that.
Because if you look at like Plato's theory of the forms, he basically postulates that every physical object is a representation of some kind of
What just happened? What just happened? Hello? What in the world was that?
I don't know. I can hear you now. I just can't see you.
Yeah, I can hear you too. It seems like stuff is coming back online. Am I back? What the fuck happened?
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe in a few seconds. Because your voice came back, so I think it might take a few seconds for your image.
Maybe you have to
video
like swipe
pop
out
up.
and come back.
Okay, alright. Well,
I don't know if you like
it's
can.
fine. People are saying it's fine now. So
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was really weird. It just like everything glitched out for a second. But anyway, so what I'm saying is like I don't know that there is some like objective value scale where we can determine which properties are better than others.
But wouldn't you say, okay, let's even assume something physical, because if you look at something physical, you can look at like a physical bird and have an imagination of what that bird is, or like the bird in a different color. So that physical object is having an influence on your ability to conceptualize it within the conceptual realm, whatever that
Oh,
is.
well, yeah, but I
And-
think concepts are physical.
Oh, so what would be your evidence for that, or your argument for that? That
Well-
concepts are physical.
Yeah, I just hold to the token identity theory of mind. I think that mental states are identical to the brain states that like I don't want to say produce them, because that would imply that there's a difference. I just think mental states are identical to brain states, and while there may be types of mental states that are multiply realizable, I would say that token mental states are literally identical to brain states, and so mental events are identical to brain events, and I would say a concept is probably something like a mental state or a mental event, and so that means it's identical to a brain state or a brain event. So yes,
So
I
would
think
you
that
say-
physical things are causally efficacious on other physical things.
So would you say by that definition, God is causally efficacious?
You could say the concept of God is causally efficacious, but not God himself.
Good. So if the concept of God is causally efficacious, does that mean like God is a physical being?
The concept is physical in the sense that when people are thinking of the concept, it physically exists in their brains in some, capacity. But the concept is different from the thing, the referent, right?
Okay, so if the concept is different from a thing, would a physical thing be able to impute that concept within the neural pathways of your brain?
Yeah, like you said, I could see a bird. Like, let's imagine that I've never seen a bird before in my entire life, and now I see the first one ever. Well, now I have, that bird has caused me to develop a concept in my head, right? So yes, like physical things, it's going to be the same thing as like, I if I watch a movie that I've never seen before, I can now conceptualize scenes from that movie in my head, so that, the playing of the movie is, caused a thing, concept to exist in my brain that didn't previously.
Good. So now what I'm saying is a physical object would have both the ability to exact influence in the physical reality and exact influence in the neural network in your brain. So by any metric you want to use, any property that physical object would have, it would be able to exact that same property conceptually within your mind or brain, and would be able to exact that same property within the physical universe. So by that definition, a physical object would be greater than a conceptual object. Would you
I don't
agree?
it doesn't matter. No, I don't agree, but even if I did agree, I don't see how it matters.
Because if a physical object is greater than a conceptual object, then you would say that a maximally great being would need to exist physically and not just conceptually.
No, again, I agree. This is going back to the same problem that you made before, Flows. I agree that your concept of this thing would have to exist in order for the concept to apply to a real thing, but that doesn't mean that the thing actually exists. It's possible there are concepts that don't have reference in reality. Like, for example, the Pegasus. Now, the Pegasus is a winged horse that was saved by Bellerophon, right? That is a concept. I have a concept in my head of a horse with wings that was saved by a guy named Bellerophon. Okay, that concept exists, and in order for that concept to apply to something, to have a reference in reality, there would have to be a winged horse that was saved by Bellerophon in reality. I agree it would have to exist in reality for the concept to apply to something in reality, but that doesn't mean that it actually exists. We can have concepts of things that don't actually refer to things in reality.
But what I'd argue is the Pegasus is made up of things that actually exist in reality. So like a horse.
Yeah, that's fine. And the God concept is referring to other concepts, and some of those can be directly, traced back to things that exist in reality. This is all irrelevant, Flows. I understand that in order for your concept to apply to something, that thing would have to exist, but that doesn't mean that the thing does actually exist.
So what I would ask you is, is it possible to conceptualize something that doesn't have any physical components within the reality, we currently live in?
Yes.
Give me an example.
The number 2.
But the number 2 has multiple references within our physical reality.
No, I have never physically encountered a 2.
So, for example, your balls are 2, your testicles are 2,
that's not
your
2.
eyes are 2.
Nope, that's not 2. I have never encountered 2.
You've never, okay, when you say you've never encountered 2, what do you mean? Do you mean like the symbol of 2?
I have never encountered, I have a concept of 2, and I have never encountered anything in physical reality that was an instantiation of that concept. Now, have I encountered things that concept could apply to? Sure, yeah. But that doesn't mean I've ever encountered a physical instantiation of the number 2.
Okay, can you give me another example apart from anything mathematical? Like any mathematical
yes, God. Yep, God. Yeah, God doesn't actually exist in reality, but we do have a concept of God. But again, like all you're saying, Flows, is that if God existed, these are the qualities that he would have. Fine. I'll grant you that. If God existed, he would have those qualities. Now, that doesn't give us a reason to think that God actually exists.
Okay, so what would you say the maximally great being is?
I don't know that there is such a thing. I don't know that concept on its own actually means anything.
Let's say...
I think that's just like a subjective thing. Like you have to decide what you think greatness is, and then you can say, what do I think the maximal instantiation of this type of greatness would be? And fine, like you could probably come up with a concept consistent with whatever you decide maximal greatness is, but that doesn't mean that just because you say maximal greatness includes existence, that doesn't mean that anything exists that the concept you come up with actually applies to. But look, we've been over this so many times, and I do not want to keep, just going over and over and over. Do you have anything else?
What about the moral argument that morality is what's it called? Basically, if morality depends on the individual, it changes. If it depends on society, it changes. But it has to be outside of the human mind. And I think Plato came to the same conclusion. So some people say it exists in the Platonic realm as Platonic forms. Some people would say it exists in the mind of God, or some people say it exists as the nature of God. But the conclusion is that morality has to exist outside of the human mind for it not to be subjective. So what would be like your response to that?
I mean, that's fine. Well, no. morality would have to exist outside of all minds in order to not be subjective. So if morality is based on God's preferences and God's ideas or whatever, then it's still subjective. So in order for morality to be objective, it has to exist outside of all minds. Like, it has to be made true by the mind and language independent reality. So so it's not just human minds it has to be separate from. And then also, like, it could just be the case that that morality doesn't exist objectively and that morals are subjective. Like, that's a possibility. I don't know why we should think that that is like some egregious thing that we shouldn't consider as possible. And then also, it's also possible to have, in fact, the only way you could have objective morals is if they aren't based on God, because again, if the morals are based on God, they're subjective. So the only possible way to have objective morals is if they're independent of human minds and God's mind.
Good. What if it just depends on the nature of God?
Then
The
it's
morals could
subjective.
be in a-
Then it would be subjective.
Why?
Because it
Why would it
depends
be
on a
subjective?
subject.
No, I don't think that's how that works. I don't
Yep.
think just because something depends on the subject is subjective.
That is that's exactly what subjective means, Flows.
And even his nature is independent on him. So even by that definition, that wouldn't mean morality is subjective.
Yes, it
Because
means.
God's nature.
Okay, so then what you're saying is that there is some arbitrary, external to God, objective moral system, and the closest that we can come to accessing it is trying to guess what God thinks.
But is your nature dependent on you?
Is my nature dependent on me? Depends on what you mean by nature.
Yes. So the way you're being, like you're a kind person, you treat people with respect. I think in some regards that is just who you are. I feel like if you were born like as a BLK person, you would still have that essence of Olga in terms of being kind. So would you say that is like do you consciously choose your nature, or are you just your nature?
I don't know, but what I'm saying is that if it's the case that God's nature is something that doesn't depend on God, then it seems like what you're saying, like it's independent of God, then it seems like what you're saying is that God has parts, one of which isn't dependent on God, which means God's not ultimate. But if God exists, God is ultimate. So now you're just defining God out of existence.
So you're saying if God's nature doesn't depend on him, he has to have parts? Could you break that down a bit for me? How does
Yeah, you're saying that you're saying that there's an aspect of God that is independent of God. Like it doesn't depend on him. If there is an aspect of God that doesn't depend on him, that would be a proper part. So if God has a proper part, then God is not simple. God has parts. And if one of God's parts doesn't depend on God, then God is not ultimate. Which means God doesn't exist.
Okay, so why would he not be ultimate? So let's say
because being ultimate means that everything else in reality other than himself depends on himself. If there is a part of him, obviously the part is not himself, and if that part doesn't depend on him, then that is a thing that doesn't depend on God. But there cannot be any things that don't depend on God if God's ultimate, so God's not ultimate if there's a part of him that doesn't depend on him.
Oh, so what I would say is that part is exclusive to him, but also him at the same time. Because his nature is him, but his nature is also exclusive
Okay,
to
so
him.
then if
So
it
kinda
if
like
it
the
is
Trinity.
if it is like internal to him, then it is, you can't say this like independent thing and get out of this subjectivity, because then it means that morality emanates from God, which means that morality emanates from a subject, which means morality is subjective. That's what it means for morality to be subjective.
So would you say intelligence emanates from an intelligent person, or would you just say that is what they are?
Intelligence emanates from an intelligent person, or that is what they are?
Would you say like intelligence is just like a property that is endemic to their nature, or would you say that intelligence itself is separate from them?
Well, again, I don't know that this matters. If we say that it's separate from them, then it's a part that is independent of the individual. In which case, again, if that's the case with the way this works for God, then we're back to God not being simple and not being ultimate. If we say that intelligence is just a part of the nature in the way that morality is just a part of God's nature, then again, morality depends on God and is subjective. In order for morality to be objective, it has to be independent of all subjects. In order for it to be objective, it has to be objectively made true, which means it has to be made true by the mind and language independent reality. But I don't really want to just like go over the definition of subjective and objective a million times.
But let's assume morality existed within the Platonic realm without a God. How would we be able to access it? How would we ever know for sure?
I have no idea. I don't believe in Platonic realms. I don't believe in Platonic, abstract objects. I'm a nominalist.
Do you believe in nominal? Is that part of naturalism, or?
I mean,
Please help me define what that is.
Yeah, I only believe in things that are like I don't believe that anything that isn't like physical or material.
Observable.
I don't know, but observable might be a little strong.
Physical.
But I don't believe that there are abstract objects. I don't believe in abstract forms. I don't believe in a Platonic realm. I don't believe in any of those kinds of things.
So how do you trust like the thoughts of your own mind? Like
I don't understand what you're asking.
Your thoughts. So like what I'm thinking is when you say like you're a nominalist, with all due respect, I'm thinking like that's like, so you've been pre-programmed to believe everything you believe now since the Big Bang.
That does not follow from nominalism. No.
Why? Okay, break it down.
You're talking about determinism. Determinism and nominalism are very separate things. They are not they're not like, they don't follow from each other. You don't have to be a determinist to be a nominalist, and you don't have to be a nominalist to be a determinist. You could be a Platonist and be a determinist.
But what I'm trying to get at is if everything we can
observe
is only the physical.
Flows, it just sounds like all you're doing is you're just like conflating a bunch of different topics. We're not actually making any progress. I don't know that we're getting anywhere. What I would need you to do, if you want to continue the conversation, is just give an actual argument that we can assess and address.
I think for today, I've tried my best. I need to go read up a bit more and then come back a bit stronger.
Okay.
You.
Well, I'm happy to talk to you again. Maybe give it a week or two and come back and we'll have another chat.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
You take care.
Bye.
Is there some issue in the chat with the mods? I don't know, Tree, but I hope that we can hold hands in the Platonic realm. That would be fun. What is happening? What is all this like? Oh shit. What the fuck is that? Never seen that before. Thanks, Drew. Holy hell. Is it just one person complaining about mods? Oh, Tree, sign me up. I haven't had a good cuddle puddle in a while. All right. Thank you everybody so much for the support. Ragnar, Lem, Drew, fucking JR, Philo Dragon, Bertram, Radio Spencer, Nobody on Fire, Green Ball, fucking everybody. Thank you so much for the support. I am gonna call it for the evening. I think it's been a long night. I had a long day today. Well, that's an enormous high praise, Daniel. But hey, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. We got up over 3,900 followers tonight, so I'm going to call that a huge win. Thank you, everybody. As I always say before I end, remember that tomorrow is not guaranteed, so you don't know how many more opportunities you have to let your family and friends know how much you care about them, so don't miss any of those opportunities. What we need to do now is... well, it looks like Cyber is live with Justin, Deconstruction Zone, right now. So why doesn't everybody go over to Deconstruction Zone,